Good evening, everybody. Hope that everyone is dry and warm tonight. It is definitely fall in Kansas City. It's a great night for football last night. I don't know if it would be such a great night for football tonight, but I was informed that I think it's a great night for the Q&A. And I know we had people in line already, and I know we are getting some. I know Lusher was first with hooray, hooray, it is Q&A day. So let's get that up there and take care of business first. I saw Nikki in there. Nikki, I owe you an apology. I know you a text about last night because everything at the game got a little out of control schedule-wise. So I am so sorry I couldn't make it to the tailgate. I truly appreciate that. I hope to make it up to you sometime. That was a very kind invitation, and I truly wanted to meet you, but it just the evening with the Clark Hunt availability and everything else kind of just bad timing and got away from me. So hopefully I can make that up to you some point. I can only imagine. I mean, there's going to be some great questions, I think, tonight. I saw. What did I see from Chris? Because Chris clearly listened to the very, very end of 41 is the mic next week. I thought it was. Oh, there we go. Yes. 3 hours of Q&A are guaranteed to keep Nick away. Nick has vowed to never come back to the Q&A again until I am able to prove that I can do one within 1 hour. And he may have a point. I mean, I feel like even though my answers can sometimes be long and I don't always lightning round it, I don't feel like it's always entirely my fault. I mean, I want to answer all the questions and I try to do my best. I mean, every once in a while there's a question I skip because I may not understand the question. So I always, at least if I don't understand the question, I'll try to reference that. But I try not to address. I try not to avoid. Rather, I try not to avoid hard questions. I mean, if there's a question that's sensitive, I mean, I'll try to answer it, or I'll just tell you I don't think I can answer this. And we might have some of those come up tonight, or at least I can tell you what I see from my side of things, because I can tell you that the last couple of weeks, I think I can safely say that not everybody hears and sees the same thing sometimes, and I'll just leave it at that. Everything can be a little bit different, and I know already we're gonna have some trade deadline questions coming up tonight, because that is just a week away. Next Tuesday is the trade deadline. Chiefs bye week, so they will be dealing with that next week on the bye week, and who knows, maybe there'll be some trades before then. We'll see what happens. There's a free agent out there that I think some Chiefs fans would be interested in acquiring and checking in on. So we'll talk about that. Other than that, I don't think I have a lot of things to say. So I'll just go ahead and jump on into it, because one of the news of the day is over in Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bengals have parted ways with old friend Mike Pennel. And Chris wants to know, Mike Pennel, would you? Yes. I'm still not entirely sure why the things did not work out back in September between the Chiefs and Mike Pennel, and why they had to go separate ways, and why Mike Pennel had to post on social media a lot about loyalty. But yeah, I certainly would. Obviously, as Brett Veach noted, Mike Pennel has performed very well for this team in short spurts in the past. They could certainly use some help on the defensive line right now. I think it's also been shown that experience with Joe Cullen and Steve Spagnuolo's system is good and helpful. If you're coming in mid-season, or even in your first season, but mid-season for sure. So yeah, well, why not? Chiefs need some depth there. I think they could absolutely use Mike Pennel. I think you'd probably have to find a place for him on the 53, which might be a little tricky right now, but you never know. So we'll see what happens. But obviously, you may have heard this a couple of weeks ago. I asked Chris Jones. Actually, it might have been last week. I think it was a week. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I asked Chris Jones, just what do the Chiefs miss with having a Mike Pennel? And I was just meaning it, and in the terms of just the kind of things that a player like Mike Pennel did and does. I wasn't trying to lead Chris into talking about Mike Pennel specifically, but he kind of did, as though I mean, he said he wanted this guy back and everything. But I was really just asking you from the standpoint of the Chiefs were kind of depleted on the defensive line, and they. Obviously they went out and got Derrick Nottie, but Derrick Nottie and Mike Pennel aren't the same guy. They're a little bit different players, and they do different things and different skill sets. So I just wanted to kind of know what they were missing as a team, not having a guy like that. And he got a little specific, and I don't know if he got too specific. I have not heard if he got in any trouble over that. I was certainly not trying to lead him to that direction. But looks like I think all of you, Sharon's on board with Mike Pennel. Chris, I'm assuming if you're asking about it, you're on board for with Mike Pennel. Steamin' Demon, odds that Mike Pennel is a call-up for Sunday. He should be in football shape from Cincinnati. I know there is a report out there from someone that I do trust that Mike Pennel is intending to come back to Kansas City. I have not been able to confirm that yet, so I'll hold off on doing that, but I'll acknowledge what's going on out there and what's being said. So, but it looks like I'm assuming right now from just scanning through here that yes, even though Pennel was not necessarily happy with the departure of things that happened in Kansas City back in September, time heals all wounds, and hey, everybody can get back together. So. I think it makes too much sense for it not to happen. So I imagine it will happen, and the Chiefs need it. I think it's good for Mike. I don't know if there's a better. I don't know if there's any place in the NFL fit for Mike Pennel, at least not as well as in Kansas City. So it just makes too much sense. And Dog Petter with the first super chat of the night, and I need to find out what's going on with. Old StreamYard here, because normally there's a notification that I can see, and it's not showing up tonight that I have super chat. So that could be a real problem. I need that notification. I just happened to stumble on it specifically. But Dog Petter, would you trade Karlaftis and a first for Myles Garrett? And man, I tell you. You're swinging big here, Dog Petter, and I appreciate that. And this is, sometimes we get some mediocre trade offers. We get the Jerry Tillery and a 5th round pick for Myles Garrett. Who says no? You're not doing that, Dog Petter, so you get kudo points from me. I probably would not, and I know that's gonna sound a little crazy, but hear me out. And I'm not even looking at the numbers yet, although the numbers in theory would be in the Chiefs' favor, because I'm assuming, without even looking at the numbers, that Cleveland would have to eat a lot of dead cap space from some signing bonuses and such that they've already given Myles Garrett. But you have to think about it in a couple of ways, and one is that George Karlaftis is a good player, and you just paid him too, by the way, and without looking specifically at George's numbers, that a trade like that would really bite you if you're the Chiefs too, because you're gonna have to eat some George Karlaftis money that would hit you in a bad way. So I'm not sure that financially it would be a great move for the Chiefs. I mean, like I said, they probably actually would save a little bit as far as the Browns eating some of Myles Garrett money, but you're going to have to eat a pretty good chunk of George Karlaftis money too. But you got to think about team construction. And George Karlaftis is a part of this team. These guys have been playing with George Karlaftis for the last, 3+ years. He's their guy. So they don't want to lose George Karlaftis. They like George Karlaftis. If you traded away George Karlaftis, there would be a lot of people in that locker room who would not be happy. And hey, would there be some who would see, hey, Myles Garrett's a great player coming in, and say, hey, Myles Garrett's a better player than George Karlaftis, so hey, it's an upgrade? Sure, there might be a few. But I can tell you that even when it comes to players that have been a problem, or guys who are past their primes, or anything of this, that when you walk away from a guy who's been a part of your team and has won Super Bowl rings with you, that means something to the players in that locker room. And I can tell you without hesitation that the loss of a guy like George Karlaftis off a team, and as far as team building goes, you would lose this team just totally and completely. And right now, the team chemistry with this club is pitch perfect. I know they've got faults, but if here's the thing, if you wanted to go get Myles Garrett, the way to get Myles Garrett wouldn't be, to me, a Karlaftis and a 1. It would be a 1 and a 1. That would be the only way to make it make sense. Now, financially, there's no way I don't think you could ever make that make sense. And like I said, just off the top of my head, I don't even know if there'd be a way. So, but let's set the money aside. Let's set all of that aside. I mean, just from a team building chemistry standpoint, I don't think you win a Super Bowl if you make that move, because I do think it would wreck the team chemistry that much. And that's not even acknowledging, the issue of, what kind of a teammate would Myles Garrett be? George Karlaftis has been a good teammate. Guys like him. I mean, he's a positive force. He's not a complainer. He's not an energy vampire, as I think Joe Cullen would say. Myles Garrett, I've heard some energy vampire kind of stories. Now, maybe he wouldn't feel that way in a winning environment. Maybe that would change. But yeah, I mean, a dog petter, if you're talking about swinging for the fences, swing for the fences. I mean, if you want to do that, go for it. But like I said, I mean, go get Myles Garrett. If it's not a 1 and a 1, maybe would take 3 1s. Because there's the other part of it. I don't even know if the Browns would take, Karlaftis and a 1 for Myles Garrett. They might want something more than that. And like I said, I think they would prefer to rather have 2 1s than a player in a 1. But your mileage may vary, as we say. But yeah, I just think that from a team chemistry standpoint, I think that one would be tough. I get where you're coming from, but just don't think it would work out in the long term. And I think in the short term, I don't think it would help you either. But thank you for the super chat as always, Dog Petter. I always appreciate that. And everybody, those always bring you to the front of the line. So if you want to do a super chat, you can always do that. Although I got to watch my friend Gabe DeArmond over at Power Mizzou, covering the Tigers in Columbia. Got a question, and Gabe is a lot like Nick in that he's not going to put up with nonsense. So he got a question, and the guy, bless his heart, did like a $10 super chat, and he just pooped on his question. And don't get me wrong, I mean, Gabe, I love Gabe. He is the greatest. He is wonderful. I don't have that in me. Nick's got a little bit of that in him. I don't have that, so I wouldn't do that. But it doesn't mean I don't think it's kind of funny. But anybody does a $10 super chat, I'm not going to poop on your question. So, Joe, what have you heard on the Pacheco injury? This being his second knee injury, think the Chiefs re-signed Pacheco. One thing I like is the energy he brings to the team. I mean, yeah, talk about your energy givers and your energy vampires. Pacheco is what the team coaches like to call the energy giver. So, yep, you like that. And this is, it doesn't, I mean, I guess you could call it a second knee injury. It's just a strain. So it doesn't, I mean, at this point, it essentially sounds like a week to week issue. And I'll tell you, I mean, from what I saw on the field, and now granted, it was the end of the game. So they were pretty much in just running out the clock mode anyway. And Brashard Smith was out there on the field and took the last few snaps for the Chiefs last night. But I mean, once he got off the medical table, I mean, he did not go straight to the locker room. He stayed on the field. He took his helmet. I mean, he acted like the kind of a player who was around and could potentially go back into the game. Now it's always possible that further examination showed a little bit more of an injury than they thought on the field. I know he was going in to see the athletic trainers last night after the game to get a more extensive exam. But week to week doesn't scare me too much. When you bring up the question, though, about, hey, does this scare you from re-signing Isaiah Pacheco? I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, what scares me more is that, I don't think he's had more than 58 yards rushing in the game since the injury last year. And it's getting to be a not so small sample size. I think right now, let me pull up for sure. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Isaiah's at averaging 4.1 yards per carry. Let me make sure. Let's see. 4.2. So it's 4.2 yards a carry. That's decent. That's not terrible. I mean, he got boosted up a little bit last night. But yeah, it's a little bit of just where his career is right now. I'm not sure at this point. I mean, unless there's a strong second half of the season and postseason run, I don't know if Isaiah Pacheco is would be getting a big contract for a running back in the offseason. So he's probably going to be affordable. But I would just be concerned that you're not seeing the same explosiveness and the same production that you saw from Isaiah since, before the injury. I mean, he needs to go out there and kind of push through. And at this point, it just seems like there's a plateau there. And if he's the kind of guy that, is going to give you 15 carries for 60 yards, is that really, I mean, that's not elite starting running back numbers. So, I mean, are those backup numbers? Sure, possibly. So, but no, I mean, you're right, Joe. I mean, the energy that he brings is aces. That's what the team, one of the things that obviously the team loves about him the most. Beach with the super chat. Cam Jordan and Calais Campbell, one last run. Those would actually be two really good additions. And we talked about Calais Campbell a lot last week while I was mispronouncing his name. And I'm all about Calais Campbell. I mean, he's affordable. He's a veteran. Hey, if you get Mike Pennel, do you need Calais Campbell? Maybe not. Maybe you do. I mean, I think you could certainly use a lot of depth. Once again, if unless Mike's good with a practice squad spot, which don't know that he necessarily is. That would be a roster construction issue because I don't think at this point Calais Campbell's looking for that. I think he'd probably maybe rather stay what he's doing and getting paid what he's doing than get a practice squad paycheck. Cam Jordan, a great player, would be a great veteran presence. All indications I hear is just that I don't think it's lip service about, this trying to get more value. He wants to stay where he is. He's happy there. He's been there for a long time, doesn't want to leave. So I'm assuming that's not truly an option, but hey, Calais Campbell, he's been around a little bit. So I would certainly think that, hey, winning some football games and being on a winning team would be a bigger deal for him at this point in his career than finishing out the string with probably a team that's not going to make the playoffs. So I'm all board on the Calais Campbell Beach. So yep, I would be there with you. And Steamin' Demon, Matt, can the special teams run a play without getting a flag? I think on every return it was either holding or a block in the back. It felt like it last night, and wiped out a couple of decent returns for Nico Remigio. One really nice return. I think the other one, it set him back. I mean, obviously it took away 10 yards from a return. It was probably about average. The other one was a nice return. I think was that up to about the 40. They were in pretty good shape there. And then the penalty really wipes you out even more because it erases not just the yardage, but it erases goes back to where the penalty was. So, and it was across the board. I mean, it wasn't, I know there was a lot of, attention on Jack Cochran last night for picking up the penalty. Jeff Bossa had one. Bossa I know he had two penalties. I couldn't remember if Bossas were both on special teams or not. And, and Dave Tobe talked about this a couple of weeks ago in particular when it pertains to Jack Cochran, that's the guy that on kick returns, they're putting him as a blocker on the other team's top tackler. I mean, there is that kind of strategy and that kind of alignment on special teams. They don't just go out there and everybody has their spot. They counter each other. So there's more to it than that. And I don't know. I felt like in the Jacksonville game where Cochran had those two flags, I thought the Jags kind of picked up on something that Cochran may be getting a little handsy as far as the holds go, and that if you get him engaged and then pull away, it looks worse than maybe it is, and that could be a fairly common technique. I mean, you may say that a lot of times, but it certainly seemed in the Jacksonville games they were pretty adept at their guy, and I'm blanking on who that was now, but of kind of engaging with Cochran, getting him to use his hands, and then pulling away from him, but then of course pulling Cochran with him. And once Cochran went to the ground with him. I mean, Cochran had a hold on him. The guy pulled away, and Cochran ends up tackling him. I mean, that's gonna draw you the flag. So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of technique. I think there's a little bit of inexperience maybe with Bassa. Hey, it can always be too if the returner sees a spot and the returner is going a place where, and the blocker thinks that the returns are going a different direction. Now all of a sudden, you can create those openings where it gets really easy for a flag to get picked up. I mean, at the end of the line, I mean, it comes down to discipline, and the Chiefs on special teams this year, their discipline has been lacking at times. There absolutely has. So, Steam and Demon, how do you stop it? I mean, if I knew, I'd be making more money than Dave Tope, and Dave Tope does pretty well. So, do they need to clean it up? Absolutely, and they need to, because that, once again, I mean, that could come back to bite them in a very, very bad way. Like it did a couple of times in that Jacksonville game. I mean, the Jacksonville game was close enough that you could point to a lot of different spots where a penalty here or there cost them that game, and that was those special teams penalties were one of them. Flynn, do you think Spags will assign a spy to Josh Allen? If so, who would it be? Great question, because I was actually having this conversation earlier today with Ryan Tracy over on Locked On Chiefs. About how, really the Chiefs have not consistently played Josh Allen as a mobile quarterback. I mean, they haven't played him in the same way that they play Lamar Jackson or some other guys, even Marcus Mariota a little bit last night. Consistently the Chiefs with mobile quarterbacks have always tried to take that away from them, have tried to hem them in. I mean, that's Spags' kind of, trademark against mobile quarterbacks, is force them to beat you with their arm. Now, the danger with Josh Allen is that he can beat you with his arm. I mean, he's not just a guy who can run, but he can beat you with his arm, and he could beat you with his receivers in the past. I don't know if that's as much of their strength this year. I mean, the Bills yesterday, putting up 40 points with James Cook going nuts, notwithstanding, the Bills offense had a couple of down weeks. So I don't know that they're passing offensively. I'm not sure that they're as deep as they have been in the past. So now, do you want to maybe hem Josh Allen in the pocket and make sure that he doesn't escape and beat you with his feet? Because obviously that's where some of his biggest plays against the Chiefs have been. I mean, whether it's third down conversions, touchdowns like the game winner last year. I mean, this is the guy I kind of want to keep in the pocket. And, who's your biggest guy? I mean, the most effective spy that the Chiefs have had, honestly, has been Leo Chenal. I mean, he played that role again last night when Mariota had some early runs, and they really shut that down in a hurry. Chenal is big enough and strong enough to take on Josh Allen, so that's a player I would be interested in. I still think Jaden Hicks is a player that's been brought in, by the Chiefs. They were drafted specifically for situations like this. I mean, he's not as big as Allen, but he's a hard hitter. He plays physical, and has always seemed like a guy that would be effective in that role as well, maybe playing a little bit deeper. With Chenal, what they kind of do with him when he's playing a spy is that he lines up over the middle of the line, almost like a one tech, like a defensive tackle or a nose tackle role. And then, his job is to kind of occupy a spot at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he may engage a defender, he may back off a little bit, but he's just trying to stay there at the line of scrimmage, maybe a little bit off the line of scrimmage, to make sure that if quarterback takes off the middle, there's nowhere to go. And Hicks is a guy you probably would play more in a traditional spy spot, maybe more in the middle linebacker type role. Now Bolton could do it as well, but I think Chenal is better and bigger and stronger, and with a guy like Josh Allen, I think that's the matchup that you would want. So that's where I would go if you're Steve Spagnuolo and you really want to make sure that Josh Allen doesn't get out the pocket. I think that's the guy, especially because, like I said, he's done it really well this year so far. Maybe that won't be their strategy, though. Maybe they just want to deny Allen, the passing yards. They don't want him to have a 300-yard passing game or a 400-yard passing game. So they may go that direction, too. Sharon, why hasn't Elijah Mitchell played to date? Might we see him Sunday, especially if Pacheco is injured, Pop is injured? Quite possible, Sharon. I mean, this would be an opportunity to get him some playing time. And the Chiefs have not really addressed, what it was about Elijah Mitchell that they decided to keep around, why he hasn't been getting playing time. I think that will certainly be a little bit more of a conversation this week with Andy Reid and Matt Nagy to kind of see, because there'll be some questions about him with Pacheco being dinged up this week. What I saw in training camp was Elijah Mitchell, who wasn't all the way back to being Elijah Mitchell from the injury last year. So my assumption has been that the Chiefs were keeping him around partly because, hey, they had a little bit of investment in him as far as guaranteed money goes. So there wasn't any necessarily reason to walk away from him. They felt like he still had value, especially if he were just to continue to get healthy. Then suddenly he becomes somebody, wait a minute. I mean, if he's all of a sudden closer to old Elijah Mitchell, and maybe he was during training camp, now maybe not only does he have depth value to you as the Chiefs, maybe he's got trade value. Maybe there's going to be somebody who comes along and says they want this guy. They need this guy because other teams have injuries too. So I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, that's been kind of at least my observation from what I saw in training camp. Just I didn't think that you saw the speed that you normally saw from Elijah Mitchell and just the athleticism. But again, I mean, he's had the injuries. He had the injury last year. So I felt like at least that could be a general reason why, the Chiefs just wanted to keep him and see if he's able to knock off the cobwebs and get back to full health and full strength and be able to help him out down the road. So maybe we're going to find out this week, Sharon. I think it's distinctly possible. Flynn, is it just me or is Matt Nagy designing a more aggressive game plan recently? I don't think it's you. I mean, I think there's definitely aspects of it. I mean, if you look at just like fourth downs where everybody really talks about, being aggressive or, conservative, which side are you? The Chiefs have been pretty aggressive. The Chiefs, even during the off season, I mean, they talked about, and I mean, Patrick Mahomes basically came out and said the game plan back in May and June, said their attack mode this year was going to be, we're going to throw the ball downfield to open up everything underneath. And that's counterintuitive. I mean, normally traditional, conventional wisdom in the NFL and football in general is that you run the football, short passing game. That's what opens up the back end of the field. You get defenses playing down, looking inside, and then you hit them on the back end and you hit them deep. But the Chiefs feel like that, teams have been, just coming up everything so much that they need to find a way to open up the middle of the field, because teams they're still trying to take away the back end, but with the injuries, the Chiefs just haven't had as much opportunities and the weapons to be able to attack the back end of the field. So without that ability to stretch the defense, teams have just been packing the middle of the field. And, and that's what led to Mahomes having to reduce numbers as far as average air distance and air yards. He was throwing shorter passes. It was making the defense just less potent and less dynamic. So, yeah, I mean, you saw the Chiefs come out. They opened up with a more aggressive game plan. So they were pushing the ball downfield. And what's it done? I mean, it's done exactly what they were hoping. It's opening up the intermediate part of the field. And so even in a game like yesterday against Washington, once you've established and you've shown the threat that you've got the weapons to take and go deep, and you've got an Xavier Worthies. I mean, even though Tyquan Thornton didn't get any targets last night, they didn't really take any shots with Xavier or Hollywood either, but they really attacked the middle of the field because guys were getting open in the middle of the field and the intermediate areas of the field. So, hey, you don't have to throw the ball 50 yards downfield if you got a guy that's open 20 yards downfield. And if especially if the 50 yards isn't open. And Washington was trying to take away the deep ball last night. So, hey, did it work out pretty well for the Chiefs? I mean, I think so. So I thought it was a pretty effective game plan last night, and it was more aggressive in that, the last couple of years, I think you're just used to seeing that the Chiefs and Mahomes playing a lot more game management and more short yardage plays. And I mean, right now they're playing at a level where they can open up the game plan a lot more. They can take shots downfield. They can tack the middle of the field because they've got the guys that can do it. I mean, the last year, for instance, without Rashee Rice, it was Patrick, Travis Kelce was really the only guy that could get you open in the middle of the field. Xavier Worthy was, they got a lot of production out of Xavier Worthy, without even, really being able to take advantage of him on the deep balls as much, but they really got a lot out of him of just getting them the ball in short space and hoping he can outrun some guys. But, Rashee Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, these guys with Travis Kelce are middle of the field guys, and the Chiefs are taking advantage of that. So, yeah, I mean, I do think you're seeing more aggressive game planning. I think you're seeing more aggressive decision making during the game, and it's kind of because I feel like right now, I used a poker analogy earlier when talking to someone about this. So I guess I felt like maybe I should go away from that and to go into maybe more business decisions. But I mean, right now the Chiefs offense is holding the best cards. So why don't you should be pushing it? You should be moving all your chips in because you got the best hand consistently down in and down out. So be aggressive, take advantage of that. And that's what they're doing. Greg and Holly, Matt, do you think the Chiefs would have went to the Super Bowl if Marty stuck with Rich Gannon instead of Gerbach? I mean, I would like to think so. I mean, that was a good team. Rich Gannon was playing really good football, and obviously took a team to the Super Bowl not long after that. Was it next season or a couple of years later with the Raiders? I think it was a couple of years later. But I mean, that is just like the worst decision that a coach will ever has to make. I mean, it just stinks to be in a spot where you got to decide whether you stick with the hot hand at quarterback or you go back to your starter. I mean, and if it wasn't that Marty, bless his heart, had always kind of had the philosophy that, injuries don't cause you to lose a starting position, that played into it a little, obviously quite a bit as well. And a lot of coaches have said that. So, and have the same philosophy. Andy Reid's never, specifically said that. And I mean, and you bringing it up, to me, it does connect with the situation that the Chiefs have now, because when Josh Simmons returns, do you go back to Josh Simmons from Jalen Moore? Do you do it immediately? If and when Josh returns, do you give him time to ramp up? If so, how long? When do you put him back in? If you put him back in, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a similar decision to make there. But what do you think, Greg and Holly? Because I think yes. I'm going to put me down for yes. I think the Chiefs make the Super Bowl if they had stuck with Rich Gannon. So. It wasn't a question, Steve. That's the only reason why I clicked on it accidentally. I wasn't trying to do anything goofy there. Nikki, and Nikki, once again, I'm so sorry about missing you last night. That would have been great to be able to catch up, and not necessarily entirely Clark Hunt's fault, but let's blame Clark Hunt for ruining my evening. What is your take on Clark's words about them being hopeful Josh Simmons can return this season? I'll be honest, Nikki. I mean, I thought it was positive. I mean, yes, it was, and I thought it was a different tone a little bit than what Clark had said last week at the owners' meetings, where I think he was a little bit more non-committal as far as just, hey, I'm not going to talk about that. Players got a personal matter, and we're just not discussing it. To now, it was, being hopeful that he will return in the future. Future can be, and that was the interesting wording of choice to me, because not only did he do that, but then when the follow-up was asked of, what's his level of confidence, does he feel pretty good? He kind of echoed that. Yeah, I feel pretty good. Pretty good. it wasn't a lot of detail, but it is consistent one with the team's overall messaging and the overall tone of the team right now, which is that it does seem that they are there's a I'm going to go with Clark Hunt's word because that's the one that's out there. They are hopeful that Josh Simmons will return in the future. And I think obviously they think that future is much closer than long term. I mean, no, are they talking about 2026? No, that's not what when Clark says a word like hopeful, he's certainly not talking about 2026 or hopefully he'll return in the future. I mean, he's not talking months from now. I mean, they're certainly much more optimistic that something will happen before then. I know there's a report out there, that possibly that the Chiefs are expecting Josh Simmons be back after the bye week, maybe in a couple of weeks. Once again, I think it's more hopeful than expecting. So if you're hopeful that that's going to happen versus expecting it to happen, I think you're going to be a lot happier. I mean, that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that things are getting better and that the situation for Josh and his family isn't improving and that he'll be back sooner. But just you never know what's going to happen. You have to have measured expectations. You can't go wrong. And in a situation like this, where a lot of things can change, there's a lot of variables and so many things that we don't know about. And you're talking about people and their private lives and their families. That's going to be first for so many of us. So I'm never going to judge a player for putting themselves and their family ahead of everything else. Just see what happens. But it's obviously, I mean, I think that, what Clark said last night, it's pretty much organizational message at this point. I mean, that they are hopeful that Josh Simmons is going to be back with the team in the near future. He didn't just say the word near. He said in the future. I'll throw out the word near because, like I said, I mean, their expectation is that he will be back with this team some point this season. So it's not long term. So I think that's just my overall take on kind of what I'm seeing right now. Perry, do you see the Chiefs going after any of the DTs from the Browns? Good question. And I just saw we got some super chats. So I'm gonna go to your super chats next because I think there's two of you in the pipeline. I just saw the star come up. I'm a few minutes behind, and Jesus is one of them. And Jesus and Dog Petter are the two that I have abused the most in the super chat. So I'm definitely coming back at you. Let me just pull up the Browns tight end the D tackles because I know. They traded Juwan Briggs to the Jets at the beginning of the season, and that was a player that the Chiefs were interested in. Still could be interested in. So look and see what else that the Browns have got. I mean, any of those teams that are like that. I know there's been some speculation about maybe Malik Collins being available. I think we may have looked at his numbers before in the past. I mean, that would probably be the one that I think is the most interesting. I mean, if I remember correctly from the numbers, I think that's a one that makes a little bit more sense. Collins is probably one. Juwan Briggs, like as a former Browns defensive tackle who went to the Jets, and with the Jets being 1-7, I'm sure that he could be available for the right price. I think, and you know what, it could be none of the above. I mean, I can think of maybe 10 dozen defensive tackles that look like they make a lot of sense from the cost standpoint, and maybe not both in salary cap and in resources to go get them. But it could be none of the above, and it could be that the Chiefs decide to stand pat. Maybe they're able to get a guy like Mike Pennel and they don't go anywhere. But I would be very surprised if the Chiefs don't make a move at defensive tackle sometime in the next week before the trade deadline, or before the trade deadline. Matt with Pepsi, thanks for the super chat there. I truly appreciate that. When players get injured, why don't they travel with the team if they don't play? Is that a personal choice or a team decision? And why is that? What did they want to be there? What did they want to? Why did they want to? Why did they want to be there? I think I'm getting the gist of all of it there, Matt. It's a good question because it varies from situation to situation. I mean, obviously, severity of the injury is one thing. If you're not in position to be able to move well, if you're going to be in a wheelchair, anything of that, on crutches, scooters, anything, you're probably not traveling with the team. I mean, if you're traveling with the team, it's probably because your injury is not of that sort. You're probably not in a like a locking brace of any sort, if it's like an arm injury or shoulder injury. So severity of the injury is one. Now, it doesn't mean that you could have a torn ACL and be traveling with the team because, you just may not be cleared for football activities yet. And like in that case, maybe you could be in a brace, but you're walking well and, you're not on any restrictions. So you may travel with the team. You could be out with a hamstring injury. And as long as you're not injured reserve, you may still travel with the team. There are injuries in which you would go ahead and go. There's, and that's usually the factor. It's just, if a player I'm trying to think of a recent example that we could kind of talk about. I mean, well, let's go to Xavier Worthy. I don't believe Xavier Worthy traveled in, well, let's say if the Chiefs had traveled in week 2, I mean, they play the Eagles. If they had traveled in week 2, I doubt that Xavier Worthy would have gone. But he might have been healthy enough that in week 3 does travel. Even if he didn't play, he might have traveled. It can vary. And, and normally, Matt, my experience and my observation is that normally it's a team decision. There might be some examples where a player is injured and does not want to travel. And I've seen that. I mean, that has happened before, especially if players on injured reserve. There's a lot of guys that if they're on injured reserve, it may just be too much to be around. I mean, it's too hard, because they want to be playing. It's too frustrating. They would rather be watching the game from home, maybe not even watching the game because it's just too tough. It can go both ways on that one. But, so generally I would say if a player is on injured reserve, Matt, it's a lot of times up to the player. Once again, the severity of the injury can factor into that. If a player is on the active 53 or is on the practice squad, and more often than not, I think they travel. Now, practice squad guys probably do stay a little bit more, and I know a lot of situations where practice squad guys and some trips, my understanding with some teams is that unless you're like a practice squad player that's likely to be elevated, you might not travel. Now, I think the Chiefs almost always travel with all their eligible practice squad players because, what happens if you're traveling, it's, and especially like for like a Monday night game where you've got a 3 p.m. Monday deadline where you can still elevate a player from the practice squad. The Chiefs and teams have been in situations where they have traveled, a player develops an issue during the flight, like, I think it was Xavier a couple of weeks ago with, the swollen ankle that popped up on the flight. And now maybe you've got to, you're wanting to on Saturday elevate a wide receiver from the practice squad to be ready just in case you need them. So it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of factors that can go into it, Matt, but I would say most of the time it's going to be a team decision. It's the health of the player, how severe the injury is, all of those things. Now that said, I mean, it also depends on the game, what it is. I think if my memory serves correctly, I don't think that there was anybody that didn't travel to the Super Bowl in those seasons that, even guys who were on injured reserve. There were, if I remember correctly, I mean, there were guys on crutches that went to the Super Bowl because that's just too good of an experience. You don't want to miss out on that. So, and that was, I mean, I'm trying to remember, it was somebody last year that was on injured reserve that, was there, and we were available to talk to them, which normally doesn't happen in Kansas City when players are in injured reserve during the regular season, but everybody's fair game during the Super Bowl. So that was a little bit different. I wish I could remember who that was now. But yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of factors that can go into it, and sometimes it's the player's choice, but more often than not, it's a team decision just based on what the injury is, the severity of it. Could traveling make the issue worse? Then, obviously, ultimately, does the player want to be there, and does the team need the player there? Let's face it, there have been some situations with some teams, and not in Kansas City, a long time that I can remember, though, where you might have an injured player that isn't hurt that bad, but you don't want them on the road trip because they're going to make everybody miserable. So there's a lot of different examples, Matt. It can vary a lot, but it's an interesting question, because I haven't been asked that a lot, but I've wondered that before too, before I became a beat reporter, and witnessing it over the years. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of variance in about who does travel and who doesn't, and again, oftentimes it's just the severity of the injury that determines it. Jesus also with the super chat: does Nick have to officially apologize to Andy Heck for trashing him all off season? I'm not going to require that, because I think there's a lot of people that had Andy Heck on the hot seat, and only week 8, Jesus, and I'm not going to be. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line has been playing well. They look like they have made some adjustments that they needed to make. I mean, you can't really complain about the Chiefs' offensive line at this point. I mean, it's been doing a good job. So, whether that's a case of, hey, the players and the coach finally clicking, if it's Andy Heck just doing a better job this season, I don't know what it is, but the offensive line's playing better. And hey, if you're Andy Heck, you get credit when you play well, and you get the blame when you don't. And I like I said, I think there was a lot of people that have Andy Heck on the hot seat. I mean, I had Andy Heck on the hot seat. I think that just with the performance of the offensive line the last few seasons, that was natural. So I won't hold Jesus to that standard, Nick. I'm not. Or, you can tell how loopy I am there after a late night Monday game. I am not going to hold Nick to that standard, Nick, Jesus. I will give him a pass, because you know what? As I was told on a friendly gentleman's wager that I had with a colleague, you never know what's going to happen. So it's not over until the end of the season. So you don't find out final grades until everything is finished. So Pete, thank you for the donation. That is very kind of you. I truly appreciate that. We got a great group in here tonight. I love this. You guys are all the best. Guys and gals. Let's see if I can go back to. I thought I had my spot before I got lost. And now I'm seeing some questions that I don't think I had seen before, so I hope I didn't skip anything. Let's see. I think, I kind of talked about. I know the Mike Pennel report out there, and I will check my phone just to make sure that I have not yet received any confirmation on that. I have not. But like I said, I that's from a source that I trust and has been reliable to me in the past. So I have no reason to doubt that report is accurate. So. And yeah, Jedi, that was kind of, I think you had the next question, Jedi, which is exactly that, about the report out there that the Chiefs have signed Mike Pennel. Nothing. I haven't seen anything official yet. I suppose I should have Twitter up just to make sure. I don't think I've seen anything there. I haven't gotten any notifications. So I do have some messages out trying to find for sure. But like I said, I know at least one of the sources, and that's somebody that, like I said, has been reliable in the past and that I trust. So I have no reason to doubt it. Chris, how concerned are you with the Trey Smith injury? Honestly, I'm not really concerned at all. It's this seemed very precautionary this week, Chris, with the Buffalo game coming up next week. The Chiefs have a ton of trust and confidence in Mike Caliendo. So, I have no real concern. I mean, do have always a little bit of concern with back injuries, but wording and phrasing can sometimes be questionable. But with it just being referred to as a spasm, we saw Trey around the facility all week long, and didn't look like there was anything seriously at issue. I'm sure he was receiving treatment all week, but It was an opportunity for them to get some work out of Mike Caliendo, give Trey a rest. Let's see what happens on the injury report on Wednesday. If Trey works in any form, limited, fine. If he does, I would expect that he's going to play on Sunday. If he does not practice on Wednesday, then my ears will perk up a little bit. We'll see what happens on Thursday. So there'll be a little bit of concern, but if he practices in any form and if he's a full go on Wednesday, then I think you're going to feel that he's in pretty good shape and no reason for concern. Daniel, what would your number one trade target be? I mean, to me, it's a defensive tackle. That's just where you have the biggest need right now. I am, and Nick and I have both been on the belief in the bandwagon in the past that a running back, an explosive running back can elevate this offense in a big time way. And I would love to see Patrick Mahomes with, a dynamic running back. And we're not even talking about you don't need James Cook's a good example. I'm not even sure if you need James Cook because Damian Williams was a great running back in this system. And that was a guy, and Damian was fast. He was quick. Wasn't necessarily the fastest guy in the world, but he had good speed. He had good, agility. He could make guys miss. He could run the outside zone. Patrick Mahomes and Jamal Charles, Chiefs are probably averaging like 8 yards a play. And I'm only being a marginally hyperbolic there. You put prime Jamal Charles out there on this team with Patrick Mahomes, and you're probably for sure averaging 7 yards a play. Your offense is going to be just that good. You're going to be pretty much unstoppable. Right now, they just, outside of Brashard Smith, I don't think that they have a running back that can, really do some of the outside runs that you got to be able to do consistently and effectively at this level and be able to break one. It has been forever since the Chiefs have broken even a 50-yard touchdown run. It's not been their in their wheelhouse since really Damian Williams. He was the last one that could really produce those on a consistent basis. So that's why I keep circling back to Damian as kind of an example. Once again, you don't have to have a $15 million running back. You just have to have a guy that's got some speed and some moves. And right now at this point in their careers, Isaiah and Kareem are just hard runners. So I think Brashard can be an explosive running back. So it's not my biggest need, but if the Chiefs, if they were able to swing something for like Breece Hall and it's affordable and you're not like too much mortgage in the future, he'd be a great fit. There's some other guys out there, but I would be going for defensive tackle. And once again, I'm kind of in the ballpark that I think you want it to be affordable because again, you've got a lot of salary cap needs coming up in the future. You don't necessarily want to put yourself into a spot where you've got to move a bunch of money around in order to fit a $18 million player that you owe $9 million to for the rest of the season, because you don't have the cap room for that. And you would have to mortgage some things for the future years. And I'm not necessarily, if you're the Chiefs, you're not necessarily in a spot that you can acquire somebody who's going to cost you a lot of money in the future. If it's somebody who's got multiple years on their deal and, maybe it's 25 this year, 25 next year. Right now the Chiefs, this is going to be a difficult, one difficult decision the Chiefs are going to have in light of, what's happened with Josh Simmons this season is that originally they were planning on pretty much walking away from Jawan Taylor after this season. I don't even know if they can reconsider that. He's going to be on the same salary cap number next year that he had this year. But next year they could save, I think it's like 19 million that they can save if they release Jawan Taylor after the season. But do you have to consider seriously keeping him around? They're not built for that, salary cap wise. So that's going to be a decision that they have to make. So, maybe it's an easy one, but Calais Campbell, I just think makes too much sense. There are some others that I think are, good options. I mean, we talked about Jawan Briggs earlier. There's the Miami, I think's got actually a couple of guys, one that Nick likes and another one that I think gets talked about a lot. We talked about a couple of the others that are out there as possibilities. Malik Collins in Cleveland's been mentioned around. So I mean, like I said, Calais just makes a lot of sense to me. He's not like so far out in front that I'm like, you have to go get this guy. But I think you just need a defensive tackle. And if Mike Pennel's your guy, Mike Pennel's your guy. Doesn't mean you can't get two guys, but because I think you certainly need at least one with Omar Norman locked out and just everything else that's going on at that position. Everchanger, yeah, we kind of just talked about Mike P and talked a little bit about the news on the Pacheco injury. And like I said, I mean, right now it's being described as week to week, so it's not a huge concern for me, especially since you got the bye week. If you just sit him this week, then maybe you've got him ready after the bye week against the Broncos, and you're ready to go. So. John, appreciate your work. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. How likely is Fulton for a defensive tackle or defensive end trade? And that has come up quite a bit, John. And again, it's one that I find hard to make. I mean, is it possible? I think you'd have to have, for somebody who'd be interested in Christian Fulton, I think it's got to be somebody with playoff aspirations this year that obviously has a surplus defensive lineman that's willing to be moved, because Fulton is not a cheap player. The Chiefs would eat a lot of the cost, but Fulton's got, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I can look this up enough times, I should be able to remember off the top of my head. It's got like $9.8 million, I think, due next year. $5 million guaranteed. So you're picking that up. I mean, if you're trading for Christian Fulton, you're picking up $5 million guaranteed next year. So it's not just that he's got a decent base salary this year and he's affordable. I mean, you're paying him $5 million next year too, regardless of whether or not you're keeping him in the trade. So I'm not, and especially for a guy who hasn't been playing, it's not a super attractive trade unless you're somebody that feels like you need Christian Fulton and there's just no other option. Are there non-playoff teams who would say to themselves, hey, we need Christian Fulton more in 2026 than we do in 2025, but we'll go get him now? I don't know why anybody would think that, because they haven't seen him play this year. And again, injuries have been a part of his history. So that makes it a risky acquisition for anybody. So you consider all of that, and it's a guy right now that can't play for the Chiefs. You know, what are you going to get for Christian Fulton? I mean, the reality of the value is that you're probably getting somebody that's in the exact same position on another club that has probably got a little bit of money guaranteed for next year, is a little bit more costly than you want, and honestly is probably somebody who's also inactive. I mean, I think it's just going to be really tough to find that kind of perfect deal. I mean, like I said, what you'd be looking for is somebody that's a playoff team who needs cornerback and defensive back help, that has some depth at defensive line, and you could work that out. Doesn't mean that the Chiefs might not have him on the market. I mean, teams are going to acquire about lots of players, and I think that's something that, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we never hear about. I mean, there's a lot of rumors that we do hear about that pop up, but there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we just never even gets to our consciousness. But I imagine there probably are some teams that are asking about Fulton's price and, what it would take for the Chiefs. And I'm sure the Chiefs wouldn't be asking for much. I'm just not sure if they could get a player for him. I still think there's more value in a younger, healthier player like Josh Williams, even though he has been inconsistent. I think there are some teams that would look at Josh Williams and say that, hey, there's at least some physical skills and a high ceiling that they could still maybe, get something out of value-wise. But again, is it enough to get you a defensive tackle or defensive end? I don't know. I mean, player for player trades are always tough. There's not always a whole lot of them. And usually when they are, I mean, they are similar player for similar player. It's just the different positions. I mean, that can differ sometimes. I mean, sometimes you'll have a premier player that goes in a trade, and there's a player that comes back who is not a premier player, but then you've got picks as well. So things there's some things that can work out. Fulton, I think, is going to be a difficult player to move. Doesn't mean it can't happen. I just think it will be difficult. And Nikki, I think that if the right running back became available, I think the Chiefs would have to listen. And like I said, I mean, moving Elijah Mitchell, possibly, I mean, wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, you're, once again, probably not going to get much because, a player who hasn't played this season, I mean, the teams have no film on, not going to necessarily be wanting to hand over a lot to you, but running back is at least a short-term and a long-term need. Unless the Chiefs truly believe that Brashard Smith can make a contribution in the second half of the season, and I think he can if they just go for it. But we'll see. But like I said, the right running back, I think, would make a lot of difference in this offense. So I would not give up on a running back, but I think it's secondary to their needs right now behind trying to supplement the defensive line. And once again, I mean, you made a good point, John. I mean, it's not just defensive tackle. They would be looking at defensive end too. And I wouldn't necessarily blame the Chiefs if they try to go for both of those positions. Perry, Patriots just made 2 trades. That's odd, right? It doesn't seem like for the Patriots. I mean, I know they've had a turnover in the organization, but maybe with the Mike Vrabel and company, they still have a little bit of that Bill Belichick mentality. I did not see the Patriots trades today, so I did not see what they got. Let's see. Dealt a receiver to the Steelers, to Kyle Duggar, and I got Kyle Duggar from the Steelers, or did I send him to the Steelers? Excuse me. Looking at it real quick. Yeah, I mean, hey, Patriots. Oh, I mean, and Chiefs have made a lot of deals with the Patriots over years in the past. So, yeah, I mean, this is when it starts to happen, and usually once one trade gets done, you start to see a few more, Perry. So we'll see if that starts the trend. Alice, I hate to hear that. So I'll go back into the settings. So I thought I had toned them down so that you would not get the million ads to come into the live. So let me check on that. I'll see if we can't fix that. Chris, I don't think I've added any words on the forbidden list. I think I just went with medium sized. I don't think I have the most extreme settings, but and there's probably things that I know from watching other people's podcasts. There's probably words that I'm not supposed to say. I probably shouldn't have said poop earlier. That could get me into trouble, I suppose. Even though I didn't mean it in that respect, I was using it in another concept. We're talking about Mike Pennel a lot tonight. Yeah, let me check the phone once again. I have not received. Don't believe I've received my confirmation yet that it's happened. So, and once again, makes too much sense. So it's probably happened. Yeah, Nikki, I'm a YouTube Premium fan. It's amazing. It's probably, of all my streaming services, that's probably the one I like the most. No, Gary just offers good advice here because I do frequently forget to ask everybody. I assume that most of you are subscribers already. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So I appreciate that. Like the channel, do all those things, helps other people find the podcast and the live stream and all the other videos that we do, and I should be doing more of on Chiefs Digest. So thanks that. I don't know about the word from DraftKings unless that that has now started to hit big time because they're, I'm sure, advertising in full force. Maybe I need to take a look at things again. We'll see about that. Yeah, Darren, no official move yet with Mike, and no corresponding transaction has been made yet. There's a possibility of it, and We'll see, but I mean, they would have to make room on the roster with somebody. We'll see what direction that they could go. It could be a couple of different directions there, and who knows what's going to happen. I mean, between now and tomorrow, between the Chiefs at the practice field, a lot of things could happen, and Mike Pennel might not even be here yet, so you never know. Brian also with great advice, just to hit the like button. That was even more succinct, Brian. I appreciate that. I mean, we're already at an hour 5, Charlie, and I'm at 7:13 on the question. So I'm already letting all of you down who asked these questions 45, 50 minutes ago. And I wouldn't put it past Nick to just be tuning in right now because it is the hour mark. And he probably just heard me acknowledge that I am answering questions from an hour ago and just laughing his butt off. So I am sure that Nick is enjoying himself. No conscience. Has Royals had a target or a catch yet? He has. I am trying to remember his numbers. I'll admit, I was a little surprised that he was a scratch on Monday night. A little bit of a surprise, but again, I mean, he's kind of at the end of the bench. Jason Brownlee was in his place. I think, from an injury standpoint, I think the Chiefs would be a little bit more comfortable with Brownlee right now than with Jalen Royals. Just making sure that nothing happens to him. But gosh, I guess no, he does not. I thought he had a target and a catch, but I guess looking at it, no. Jalen Royals has one kick return this season, but that is it. So I was a little surprised that for some reason I thought he had like a stray catch for 7 yards or something, but I am mistaken. So no, he does not have that yet. So even with my Chris Conley comp, looks like he's not going to get there this year. And I think Chris Conley, I think had like 199 yards as a rookie, and that was what I thought was hey, good numbers for Jalen Royals. And if he got a lot of numbers this year, Jalen Royals, it was because some guys got hurt, and that's no knock against Jalen Royals. It's just where he is on the depth chart. I mean, he's really kind of in that 6-7 spot, and Chiefs haven't needed their 6th or 7th receivers. If you have noticed the light change, don't freak out. I have a light bulb that's not working, and apparently it just came back on. So now I may look a little bit more normal than I have been. I felt like I was looking a little bit like Casper the Ghost earlier. No conscience. What are your thoughts of the Chiefs receivers against man coverage? That would be a great question for Nick. I mean, because I haven't looked at it in depth as far as what the numbers look like. No conscience. So I'm probably going to give you a really bad answer right now to that question. But I mean, man versus zone, not really terribly concerned about this team right now and what they're. I mean. And and you're going to face different coverages. I mean, you're going to have situations where whether you have split safety, so you got man on one side, zone on the other. I mean, you're going to see that against the Chiefs sometimes. You're going to see a lot of zone on the back end and man to man on the front end. I mean, so it varies, but I would have to that. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's too in depth. It's just something I honestly have not looked at as much lately. I usually rely on Nick for some more of that kind of breakdowns and everything like that. My strengths are in other areas, and as far as from watching film and everything, I mean, like I said, that's Nick's strength. It's not mine. I think I feel like I have strengths in other areas, but I just haven't looked at the numbers as much. So that's a really bad answer, no conscience. And I wish Nick was here because he could give you a really good answer to that. And I just gave you a terrible, terrible one. Daniel, if it is true that Quinnen Williams is available, you'd think the Chiefs would be interested in trading for him. Don't know who or if they can restructure anyone. I mean, think with the, I mean, I assume that with the Jets, there's a reasonable chance that anybody and everybody is available. Now Williams just got paid, so I can't imagine that that's a workable deal for anybody. Now again, for for the Chiefs, he's got 15.6 on a base salary this year. So if you traded for him, you've got about 7.75, almost $8 million. You'd be responsible for this year. You would have to restructure probably a couple of guys to get there and clear that money up. And then he's got another, 20.7 million for next year, 25.4 after that. How much is guaranteed next year? Looks like half of it's already guaranteed. Nope. 3/4 of it looks like it's guaranteed. No, just 5 million. Okay, 5 million now, another 2.5 million next year. I mean, if you acquired Quentin Williams, it would be for 2029 as well. And here's my problem, like I alluded to earlier about the Chiefs making a trade for a player who is not a 1-year rental, but a guy that you would potentially be keeping for the future. Chiefs have spent their money for the future. All the deals that are done, they've spent their money. So I don't see the options that are out there for picking up a guy like Quentin Williams, because even though, like I said, if they could make it make more sense for this year, you're gonna have to make it make sense for next year too. And I mean, that's the Chiefs with all their deals that they have done. I mean, the Karlaftis deals, the Trey Smiths of the world, all these deals that they have made. They have spent their money, and they just don't have a lot of freedom to wedge in another $20 million, $25 million contract for 2026 and future years. So it makes it really, really tough, to acquire a player who's a little bit more than a 1-year rental. Now that you guys have things going on, I'm assuming that I have just not gotten to the part where one of our moderators booted out somebody who was being inappropriate. So if one of our moderators did that, kudos to you. You have my support. Let's see. What did I miss about the Cyndi Lauper thing? I mean, Cyndi Lauper is awesome, Brian, but I don't know what I feel like I missed something, and this is me not being able to the multitask. I got caught up in my little talking and everything, and I can't read ahead, and then I get lost coming back to questions. I know it's silly. People, someone at my level should be able to handle this kind of thing, but you know what? It's my human, old man aspect that just can't multitask like I used to. Steven Demon, how much has Pacheco made in his career? Being a 7th rounder and his injuries, I don't expect much of a new contract at all. Sucks being a 7th rounder and never making big money. It does. It totally stinks, Steven Demon. I think about that all the time, especially about running backs, because running backs in the NFL, I hate to say it, but they're dispensable. I mean, they really are. Dispensable. There's a lot of running backs that just don't get much after their rookie contract. There's a handful that get paid, and even the guys that get paid, I mean, they take more punishment than they probably ever make. I mean, even some of the guys that get second deals that have a lot of money, even then, I mean, they go through more punishment for less money than players at a lot of other positions, and it does stink. I was looking up Pacheco. Now, I mean, the nice thing is that the NFL does have an incentive-based pay system. So for late round picks and for undrafted players, there's a pool of money at the end of the year that if you outperform and you play more than expected for your draft position, or if you're an undrafted player and you play a bigger role, and you get compensated for that, and you can make more money from that. Trey Smith benefited from that a couple of times because he was a 6th round pick that was starting every year, and played every snap, and that made him some incentive money. So that worked out pretty well. I feel like it probably has worked out pretty well for Pacheco too. I don't know if I'm going to see his incentive pay on here, because I mean this is like looking at his cap and cash. Let's see. Man, his rookie deal was just for a little bit more than 3.7 million. And, his rookie deals for 3.7, his base salary in 2025 is 1.1. So most of that's, the biggest chunk of it is coming this year. Now this doesn't include the incentive. I believe he has made some incentive cash, and I don't believe that it counts against the salary cap. I think it's one of those exclusions to it. So he's probably made a little bit more money than that. But at the end of this year, at the end of his 4-year contract, Pacheco's going to have made 3.75 million. That's good money for a lot of us. But for what you go through as a running back and a starting running back like Isaiah has been in this league, that's brutally tough. Running backs go through a lot of punishment, and in the NFL these days, they just kind of get used up and thrown away. Second of all, there's not a lot of running backs that get second contracts. And even some of the ones that do, they're not big deals. There's a lot of guys who get signed on second contracts that are minimum salary and just keep kind of going along. Jet McKinnon, he had the one big second contract that he signed with the 49ers. Just didn't work out, didn't make all of the money, and then if I'm not mistaken, it was just like a bunch of 1-year deals after that for him, including Kansas City. So it's tough out there for running backs, Demon, not gonna lie. A1 Buds, can we do the rare 2-player from the same team trade with Malik Collins versus Shelby Harris? Hey, there's no reason why you can't make a try for it, A1. You can. All it takes is the right price. You got the players, you got the picks, whatever it takes. That's all it takes to make it work. So if you like Shelby Harris too, go get him. Yeah, I definitely missed something. So I don't know if I missed the comment or somebody policed it. I appreciate that. And again, Cyndi Lauper's great. So if anybody's bashing Cyndi Lauper, you're gonna have to have a chat with me later. So, Jason, can you ask Patrick about not going into the Bills game with both? Clicked away. With both teams not in first place in their divisions, game is really important for both teams headed into the playoffs. It's a good question. That is a legitimate question, Jason. That normally this is and that's the funny thing, is that I saw someone make the argument today that this game isn't as big to maybe even the Chiefs as it has been in the past, or at least the Chiefs fans. It's not as big as maybe it has been to both teams as it has been in the past, because maybe the number 1 seed is riding on it. I don't know if you can't say the number 1 seed might be riding on this, because both these teams could absolutely run the tables the rest of the way, and this game does decide the number 1 seed. I'll be honest. I get that they have a pretty easy schedule. I have no confidence that the Colts are like a lock to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. So could the Chiefs still be the 1 seed? I know there's 7 seed right now. Could they run the table, or maybe even just 1 loss rest of the way and claim the 1 seed? Yeah, the reality of it is that, going 15-2 like the Chiefs did last season is not the norm. More often than not, 13-4 is going to get you the 1 seed. There's probably going to be a time where 12-5 is going to get you the 1 seed. But Colts, I think, are going to drop a couple of games here and there. So I think this game could end up being very important. This could be the difference. Even if these two teams don't end up getting, the 1 seeds at the end, this for both teams, especially, I feel like it's a tougher situation. That honestly, maybe this is just because I'm seeing this team right now, and I just see what the Chiefs are doing, and I feel like that they're a better team than Denver. I think they're going to win their second matchup at home against the Chargers, and obviously they're going to beat the Raiders in Las Vegas unless that game at the end of the year is just so meaningless that they don't play their starters, and then anything can happen. But I mean, I think the Chiefs are going to be competing for a high spot in the seeding. And, even if they don't get to the 1 seed, could they end up in a spot between Buffalo for the 2 and the 3? I think it's an important game for Buffalo because they're trying to keep up with the Patriots. And I don't think Patriots are that bad of a team. And Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. If anything, I think I have more faith in Mike Vrabel and the Patriots than I do in the Colts. And maybe that's me being naive, but I just don't think the Colts are going to finish at 15-2 or 14-3 or something. I think they're going to have a couple of more losses, coming on down the road. So 13-4, maybe not even to be 12-5. I remember once upon a time, the Chiefs were 9-0 in 2013 in Andy Reid's first year. And I think they were they 4 and then, or they were, that was a 16 game schedule. I think they were 3-3 the rest of the way. So a lot of things can happen. Or 3-4, was it 3-4? I think there were 3-4 the rest of the way. So, hey, a lot of things can happen. But I mean, this is always a good game. So I think it's important for both of these teams, Jason. I do. So, and I expect that the Chiefs are going into this is just as important as it always is. So I wish I if someone policed the insults. I did not see them. Maybe I overlooked it. If we need to take care of something. This has been a great chat. We always have fun here. So if there's somebody who's not having fun, we need to get on that. So feel free to. I'm going to scan down now and see what's going on and everything. So if anybody's got anything I need to know, feel free to go ahead and throw it out there now. Since I'm finally trying to catch up and see what's going on, because I don't want people to have a bad time here. We should be having fun. So Cody with the wink. So maybe I missed it. All right. Well, I'm going to be on to back and forth. So if anybody's got an explanation for me and anything we need to work on, need to deal with, even though I am still 50 minutes behind in questions. But you know what? We'll lightning round this and catch up here. I promise it'll get better. Because we're supposed to be having fun here, people. Let's see. Where are we going next now that I've gotten back to my place here? I mean, I do think that Trey Smith is going to be available this week. Like I said, Wednesday is the day to watch. If he practices on Wednesday, then feeling pretty good. Even if he's limited on Wednesday, I think that's a good step forward. So, Doctor Who, do you think Pennel asked to be cut from the Bengals to be able to re-sign with the Chiefs? Why would the Bengals cut him now? There's an interesting aspect to it, which is that, Pennel, it was put down as a injury settlement, and Mike Pennel wasn't on the injury report last week. Now I'm not aware. When I looked at his contract, it didn't show that he had any guaranteed money in the contract. It's possible that that's what happened. And if you have a guaranteed contract and guaranteed money, normally in that situation, if you get released by the team, they still owe you that guaranteed money. Now, if Mike Pennel wanted to get released and ask for his release, then they could work out a deal where they don't pay him all the guaranteed money. So, but I'm not aware in this case that was the issue. Maybe Pennel got hurt in the game this week, and that's what led to the injury settlement. Not entirely sure what that issue was or why it was structured that way. But it's entirely possible that Mike Pennel asked for his release. It's entirely possible. There's a reason why the Bengals. Let's face it. As much as Chiefs fans have enjoyed having Mike Pennel around, teammates have enjoyed having Mike Pennel around. There's a problem in that Mike Pennel has bounced around a lot. That just tells me, he was not in New England very long when he signed with them. They kind of parted ways and it didn't work out. I don't know if it's just that Mike's personality doesn't work in some systems. I don't know if what it is. I mean, I don't get it. But usually when a player bounces around and plays for a lot of teams, usually there's a reason why. In Mike's case, I do not get it at all because, like I said, I mean, I've never heard a bad word about Mike Pennel from any of his teammates. He has never been, a problem with the media. I mean, he has always been a good dude. I know there have been some off the field issues with Mike Pennel, so maybe that's part of it in his history. So it's there. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just rubs management and coaches the wrong way sometimes. I don't know, but it's happened. I can't explain it. I don't get it. I don't know what it is, but maybe the same thing happened in Cincinnati, and maybe it was Mike was the one that wanted to go. Who knows? I mean, and at this point, Mike's career, I mean, I know he wants to play for winning teams. I mean, there's no reason to be playing out the string on a team that's not going anywhere. Right now, the Bengals aren't going anywhere. So I can see that being a bad fit right now. So Lawrence, I mean, that's kind of my philosophy. I mean, yeah, I mean, I know that, like I said, there's a report out there from someone that I trust that the Chiefs are interested in signing Mike Pennel. I have not received any confirmation that is happening yet, or is a done deal, or any of the sort. But I will let you know as soon as I know something. Jimmy's, please name name the player that has underperformed the most at this point. One for each side of the ball, and for gosh sakes, Matt, be nice. Okay. Let's see. I mean, this is a little bit. This is a difficult situation, but I mean, I get it. I mean, it's not always easy, and sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. And honestly, I mean, I would be tempted to say I'm going to kind of rule out here, I guess, in this case. I'm going to rule out players that haven't gotten the opportunity yet. So can I really say that Robert Tonyan has underperformed or Jalen Royals has underperformed when they just haven't gotten the opportunities? And, in Royals' case, the injury has been an issue. So I'm not gonna blame that on the player. I mean, that's just bad luck. I mean, to me, if you're talking about underperforming, you're talking about somebody that, in the time that they've been given hasn't made the most of it. And when you haven't been given any time really and any opportunities like, those two guys have, I can't really blame the player in that case. My big starred name, it's a good question. I mean, I'm trying to think on the offensive side if there's anybody that really jumps out to me from the Chiefs standpoint that I would fit into that category. I mean, I know that there's some frustration that Nico is not the most productive kick returner. I value at least the fact that he doesn't make mistakes. So like I said, I value that. I know not everybody does. So there's been some criticism there that the Chiefs just aren't getting enough production from that spot. I get it. There's part of me, even though, I mean, he's got 4 touchdowns, he's got some a lot of yards rushing, and it's getting better. But I mean, Kareem's averaging 4 yards a carry. I mean, he would be close to saying that I think that the Chiefs should probably wish they were getting a little bit more. It's just a really hard question on the offensive side because, I mean, at least from this standpoint, I'm having a hard time really pointing to anybody that I feel like has dramatically underperformed. I mean, if you I can't really blame it. I mean, Jason Brownlee's not got a lot of opportunities, so you can't really. And I mean, again, what do you expect of the 6th or 7th receiver, the 8th receiver in this case, because the Chiefs have kind of gone that deep here. I really can't blame those guys. I mean, I suppose the big star name, obviously, if you want to talk about this and you talk about going on either side of the football, I mean, special teams, Harrison Butker is to this point had a below average year. Does it look like he's coming out of it? Hopefully. I mean, he's had a lot of extra points the last couple of weeks and been consistent there. He's 80% on field goals now this season. So He's 88% on extra points. It is kind of surprising he's missed 3 extra points this year. That is and for whatever reason, I mean, Harrison has always been worse on extra points than he has been on field goals. Not percentage wise, but just kind of relevant, comparatively to average. I mean, he's been a below average guy on extra points while being one of the 3 most accurate field goal kickers of all time consistently. So, I mean, that would have to be my big star name there. Defensively, I'm taking way much time with this question. It is a good question, Jimmy. So that's why I am at least wasting my time. I don't mean that. I'm just kidding. Gosh. I mean, I would probably. I'm trying to come up with a different answer. There's a reason why I should have a different answer than Derrick Nottie on the defensive side, just because, I mean, the Chiefs went out and they brought him back on the trade. I mean, let him go, brought him back when they could have had him for free. So there was an investment there that they needed. I'm just not sure that he's had the greatest production. I mean, Pro Football Focus will tell you that he's been one of the worst defensive tackles. I'm not always a big fan of PFF. I don't lean on their stats and their rankings a lot because I do think that there's can be some inconsistencies there. But that's probably my answer, Jimmy. So I tried to be nice. Hopefully I was nice enough, but those are probably the reasonable answers. But again, I mean, I think on the offensive side right now, it's really, really hard to say that there's anybody that's underperforming to this point, because I think on the offensive side, a lot of guys have. And honestly, I mean, when you're playing as well as the Chiefs are, you're not going to have a lot of underperformers anyway. So, all right, that's the best I could do. Going back over to Brother Rick on the super chat. Thank you, Brother Rick. As always, concerning Jared Wiley, are the Chiefs redshirting him until Kelsey retires? I don't think so, but I am intrigued about that, Brother Rick. I mean, I'm, originally the schedule for Jared Wiley was that he probably wasn't going to be 100% and ready to go until like week 4. And yet, I mean, he was ready to go earlier than that. And whether he was 100% is another question. Now, I talked to Jared, and he says, he feels a lot better right now than he felt even like during training camp, that it's just continuing to get better. But remember, I mean, when you're talking about ACL injuries, and once again, it's a lot. I think it's a lot more difficult for bigger guys, like on the line of scrimmage. Usually it's a little bit easier for the skill guys, receivers and tight ends to come back and kind of be themselves. But he's just getting to a point where he's like 1 year back. And that's when you would really, even though I know guys come back quicker and faster from ACLs than ever before. I mean, just because they're back on the field in 6 months doesn't always mean they're 100% at 6 months. So I think you're really just getting to the point now where if you're Jared Wiley, you could reasonably expect him to be ready to contribute and be comfortable with that. Does that mean after the bye week that maybe he becomes active and you see him a bit more? We'll see. I mean, I feel like that, if anything, I feel like they've been kind of keeping Robert Tonyan in reserve, as far as being that guy that maybe can give you some more snaps in the second half of the season to let Kelsey rest, give Noah Gray some occasional time off. Noah's playing a lot and taking a beating. I mean, man, he took a couple of hard hits last night, including the one obviously on the defenseless receiver that that 15-yard penalty was a pretty big play for the Chiefs. That's a tough way to take one for the team. And he took a couple of tough hits last night. So I don't think it's strictly that, Brother Rick, but once again, I mean, once that ACL injury hit, I mean, I do know you're the Chiefs. You did look and say, okay, 2026 is probably Jared Wiley's year. You're right now you're thinking to yourself, hey, if he can come back in 25 and give you anything, it's a bonus. And with ACLs, I mean, that's the tough thing with Omar Norman Lott's injury. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you're thinking to yourself with that injury that if he comes back and can give you anything in 26, great. Otherwise, I mean, you're probably thinking until 2027 when Omar Norman Lott's really kind of back to himself and being the guy that you started to see developing and coming through this year. So appreciate Brother Rick and everybody, the super chats. I truly appreciate those as always. Let's see. I see some wagering going on between Brian and Luttrell. Hopefully that's all very, very friendly. Everchanger, is Thornton just a depth piece with the current wide receivers in place? I thought maybe he would split more snaps with a guy like Hollywood, but that doesn't seem to be it. Should we expect Royals for next year? I mean, once again, anything can change in a heartbeat. So if an injury happens, Royals is a guy that could absolutely be next man up and start seeing a lot more time. Thornton, I mean, I think the answer that we're going to get this week, because I know it's going to come up, is about, why didn't Tyquan play as much and get any targets against Washington? I think the answer is just going to be game plan. That there's going to be weeks for everybody when, except for maybe Worthy and Rasheed, that everybody else is going to be kind of at the whim of the game plan. That there's going to be games where they're going to get a lot of touches and a lot of targets, and then there's going to be other weeks where they don't. Against Washington, the Chiefs really were not attacking downfield. Washington wanted to take away that, and I think the conditions a little bit led into that too. But the Chiefs just weren't. It didn't seem really super interested in taking any shots deep downfield against Washington. That's Thornton's bread and butter. That's what he does best. So if anybody's going to get those shots, it's going to be Xavier Worthy, and Worthy is obviously the more flexible receiver. He can do a lot more, so he's going to see more of those snaps. So I think that was probably the biggest chunk of it. I mean, Chiefs played a lot of 12 personnel. So and once again, I mean, when you're talking about getting your big three back, and Juju's playing pretty well. So Thornton's your fifth receiver. Fifth receivers just typically don't get a lot of snaps. So really the biggest thing that's changed is that, Tyquan's gone from being your fourth receiver to your fifth. There were weeks in the game plan where he was probably the third receiver, at least. There's going to be some weeks where he is probably, again, maybe the fourth receiver instead of the fifth. So there'll probably be some weeks where he gets more looks than others. It's going to be less looks than he was getting in the beginning of the season, because you got everybody back. You got Worthy. He played a lot when Worthy was banged up, and he is the Xavier Worthy insurance. Tyquan, if Worthy is not playing, Tyquan is going to be in his spot. So Worthy being all the way back really digs into Tyquan's time, and could he fill in for a little bit from the Hollywood standpoint? Sure, but you're going to have Hollywood out there a lot, and honestly, I mean, if you're putting two tight ends on the field and you only got two wide receivers, that just makes even less opportunities for a guy like Tyquan. So I think it's going to be game plan dependent, and depth for sure. I mean, but that, and I think if you're the Chiefs, Tyquan's exactly kind of the guy you want when you got a guy like Xavier, because if Xavier gets banged up, Tyquan is going to be right back in there getting all the work that he was getting there for the beginning of the season, especially when Worthy was out and when he was limited there a little bit. Let's see, where are we going to next? Brian, how many pressures, hurries, and sacks does Pennel have this year? I know when last I looked, it was not that many. And again, I mean, Pennell's a little bit more of a run defender type, but let's see, what's been his situation in Cincinnati and his stats numbers this year. Let's see. He's got 15 total tackles, no sacks, and you may have just been asking a rhetorical question, and I'm just going ahead and answering it anyway. And why doesn't Pro Football Reference have his advanced defense stats up for this year? I do not understand that. I can't imagine because he doesn't have any. That's kind of weird. He was playing about 25% of the snaps for the Bengals. uh, reasonable amount. I mean, if anything, I mean, he might come to Kansas City. If he came to Kansas City, he probably might end up playing more than that. But I mean, kind of looks like Mike Pennel kind of numbers. I mean, Mike's never been a big sack guy. I mean, I know he had 3 last year for the Chiefs, but that was like the only year of his career he's had more than 1 sack. So he's going to definitely be more of a run guy, and looks like he was playing the run at least halfway decently this year for the Bengals. So if it comes to KC, we'll see what happens. But it's obviously this has been a place that he's been pretty comfortable and has played well in spurts, as I think Brett Veach would say. Let's see. Sorry, I'm clicking the wrong buttons again. And gosh, does Gerbach really still? No, Gerbach. Actually, he probably does. Gerbach probably still has the record for most passing yards in a single game for the Chiefs, doesn't he? That's kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, and I mean, Mahomes is going to get a chance again one day, because I mean, Spags is going to leave, not be the defensive coordinator anymore. He's going to retire, something like that. And the Chiefs at some point in Mahomes' future, you got to think, are going to have a rough defense again. And that will be the only time that, Mahomes might have a chance to put up 5,000 yards again. I mean, you got to put up the numbers, like, maybe if you want to throw 500 yards in the game, the only way you really can do it is if your defense just does not help you at all. I think Brian's question was rhetorical, so I kind of, I guess, answered that. And kind of asking about Calais Campbell too. I mean, again, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're talking about these guys. You're talking about guys that you need somebody that plays the run, because right now you don't have that. Derrick Nottie is your only, inside run defender. You're having to occasionally put Mike Dana out there, and I love Mike Dana. He is a versatile defensive lineman. Every team could use a Mike Dana. But asking him to play a one tech against the run, which on occasion the Chiefs have done, it's not fair to Mike Dana. I mean, that's just not his role. So that's a tough place to be. Let's see. Jimmy's drinking the natty. That's okay, Jimmy's. No judgment here. This is a judgment-free zone. As long as you're all nice to each other. It's a judgment-free zone, people. At least now it looks like you're all having some fun, as long as there's no troublemakers out there. Albert had a question to get Nick back from the Q&A. We tried that. I mean, I keep telling Nick how many people have questions for him, and at least he finally said that if I do a Q&A that's less than an hour, he'll come back. Now I have failed that tonight, and right now it looks like I'm on my way to failing of being able to get it under 2 hours, but which is really rough, because I have got to go make cookies after this. I've been signed up for cookie duty. So I'm making some no-bake cookies after this, and I'm making them for a few different people. So that's going to require a lot of work. Oh, you're right, Nikki. I did not have that rough of a night, so I should not be bringing up late nights. I mean, I did sleep until 9 this morning, so that was pretty sweet. I shouldn't even be bragging about that. So I do feel bad about that. Matt with the Pepsi. Hypothetically, let's say the Chiefs did sign Mike Pennel. Do you still feel like Colin Saunders or a running back in the trade room? If you could only pick one, I would say, if given those choices, no knock against Colin Saunders at all, I would take the running back. If you get Mike Pennel back, have to be the right running back, of course, but I would go that direction. And like I said, nothing necessarily against Colin, but again, he's more of a, his preference is to go after the quarterback. Not as strong as a run defender as Mike or some other guys might be. And run defenders, what you really need. You got a couple of guys that like to go after the passer, and you need some depth there too. So I'm not going to poo-poo it. I could certainly see the Chiefs going, looking to find both a run stopper in the middle and a pass rusher that could be a guy that they could move around. But again, the Chiefs would like to have some edge support. I mean, they would like another depth piece there. I think they're coming along. I think there's got some comfort, and especially if they can get more production from Ashton Gelati, that would help quite a bit. But we'll see. But if you added Pennel, I would say go for a running back. But I know that the Chiefs would not mind. If they could find a running back, a defensive tackle, and a defensive end, they'd probably be pretty happy right now. So we'll see what happens. And if Mike Pennell's the defensive tackle, more power to him. I mean, it's a guy that they've liked, that they've had some success with. So enjoying the conversation as always. I haven't seen the problem in the comments tonight, so I'm hoping everybody's having a good time, and I'm just completely out of the loop on the drama. So I'll stop bringing it up until I find out what's going on. Jimmy's looking at this nasty 6-game stretch in front of the Chiefs. Which matchups give you the most pause? Ooh, really good question. I mean, I'm not, I do think that Buffalo is the toughest game on the Chiefs' schedule remaining. For whatever problems the Bills have, that is a tough place to play at all times. Josh Allen is arguably the second best quarterback in the league. That's a team that it's tough to beat in their place. So I do think that is the toughest game remaining on the Chiefs' schedule. I mean, you can't really worry about the games you should win. So you can't really worry about the Texans. You can't worry about the Titans. Can't worry about the Raiders. Those are games that you should just go out and win. I mean, and if you have a flat performance and it's not a 20-point win, so be it. I mean, but those are games that they don't give me pause. You should absolutely go out and win those games. So what's the second toughest game on the schedule? I mean, on paper, at Denver would be the one that I would say would be the next toughest. I honestly might say at Dallas would be my next toughest. I know I should probably say Indianapolis, but that game is at home. Dallas is just so unpredictable. And Thanksgiving in Dallas, I mean, that's tradition. I just think that's another tough game. The Chiefs have played in that game before. They've lost that game before. It's losable again. I mean, Dallas can't play any defense. They're absolutely that case. They can, at times, just go nuts scoring. You never know which week Dallas is going to score 40 points, which week they're going to give up 40 points, or which week they're going to do both and end up having a tie. All those things are possible. I mean, but I think those are the three, honestly, I think those are the three toughest games that the Chiefs have after the bye week. I mean, to me, and I would say it's at Denver, at Dallas, and Indianapolis. I get the Chargers are a tough team too, but I just, Chiefs should win that game. I think they're the better team. Certainly based on what we saw in week 1 and what's happened since then. The Chiefs are the better team. Brazil was an equalizer. I mean, that brought the Chiefs down, and that was a bad night for the Chiefs, and they still almost won that game despite the fact that they did not play well. And I thought the Chargers played pretty well. That was a good game for the Chargers and a bad game for the Chiefs, and the Chargers still barely won. So I mean, the more and more I've said this I think a couple of weeks ago to the Seren Petro on the program on 810, and he kind of thought I was crazy. But I mean, if the Chiefs ran the table from here on out, it wouldn't surprise me, just because of how well they are playing, and I mean how much I think easier the second half of the schedule is than the front half. I mean, again, the Chargers on the road, internationally was even tougher than that game would have been. That game would have been much easier in Los Angeles than it would have been in Brazil. That was a better advantage for the Chargers than it was for the Chiefs. It was not an equalizer for the Chiefs. It was an equalizer for the Chargers. I mean, I think that was a better setting for them than it would have been if that game had been in SoFi, because SoFi is typically almost a Chiefs home game. And I mean, I think the Chiefs are better than the Broncos. I think they should go in and win at Denver. And if I think that, then obviously I think they should beat the Broncos at home. The Tennessee, the Chiefs are better than obviously Tennessee. Tennessee is not very good this year. Houston's struggling. Chiefs are better than that. Chiefs are better than the Raiders. Chiefs are better than the Cowboys. I mean, if you want to argue with me that the Broncos and Colts are better than the Chiefs, I mean, I'm not going to agree, but those are the two games after the bye week that I think you would say that are the toughest. I think the Chiefs played, and they got a little fortunate with the matchup against the Lions, but Chargers and Eagles were both tougher teams to me in situations than Denver and Indianapolis. I think those two games were tougher. Now, the Chiefs lost both those games, so okay, but I also think the Chiefs are a different team now. So, and like I said, I think there's definitely a possibility that the Chiefs could, run the table or at least drop no more than one more game the rest of the way. Two, I mean, I think it would actually be a disappointment if this team lost two more games. They lost at Buffalo and then lost either, at the Broncos or versus the Colts. I think that would be disappointing. But we'll see what happens. I mean, games are not played on paper, and you never know what's going to happen. And again, if injuries hit, the Chiefs have been on a run pretty good right now where they have generally been the healthier team. There will probably be a point sometime later in this season that they will end up being the team that has a few more injuries. So, I mean, Jimmy, we beat you to it, Jimmy. So hopefully you heard my Jared Wiley conversation earlier. I have nothing else to add to it other than I think he's ready. I'm not convinced that the Chiefs are going to force him into action until maybe they need to, or maybe they might ease him in. I mean, it's entirely possible that we don't see him this year, and it is a redshirt year, and you bring him back in 2026 and try to unleash Jared Wiley. But I mean, I'm still a fan of Jared Wiley. I want to see what he can do. I think there's a lot of potential still there, and that Chiefs they've got an opportunity to still tap into it. So I'm not giving up on him. I have not listened to all of Troy Aikman's commentary last night. I have heard some of the clips. I have listened to Nick's rant. I have read some of the rants from others that it was not Troy's best night. Didn't sound like it was Joe Buck's best night either. I didn't sound like it was anybody on the crew's best night. I know, and I think Nick was even more upset with the rules official. I can't remember the rules official on Monday Night Football, but I do also recall that generally he's not very good. So it sounds like it was a rough night for the broadcast team. Maybe they had too much barbecue. I don't know. But anybody else have? What was your comment? Was anything that particularly bothered you guys all about the broadcast? Because I've heard a lot about that, and I haven't watched it yet because usually when I go back and watch games, I watch it on the All 22, so I don't usually end up watching the broadcast. It sounds like I may have to check it out for at least a little bit. Instead, I've been listening to some podcasts that have some terrible information. So. I'm assuming there's some things I've heard in some podcasts that's even worse than whatever Aikman and Buck were talking about last night. Go for KC forever. Our semi-weekly. Do you think the Chiefs will sign Trent McDuffy? Question. I mean, I feel like every week I'm getting a little bit further from the Chiefs signing Trent McDuffy, and and part of it's because, the Chiefs spent a lot of money. So they're going to have to save some money at some point. And they could really use an influx of draft picks. And Trent McDuffie would be a guy to get you some draft picks. There are teams that could really use Trent McDuffie. He would be a significant upgrade for them. And honestly, I mean, if you're the Chiefs and you had the luxury of just playing Trent McDuffie primarily as your slot corner and just occasionally on the outside, which, I mean, they may get to that point. I mean, maybe that's where eventually they go. But at the same time, slot corners don't make the same amount of money that outside guys do. And I mean, I say all of this, also noting that Trent McDuffie is a fantastic teammate and just a guy that you want to keep around. I mean, I think he would be a very valuable player, but if it comes down to, is he more valuable to another team that will give you a bunch of draft picks? I mean, maybe so. I can certainly make see a line where if Trent McDuffie wants X number of dollars and that X number of dollars makes him one of the top 5 corners in the league, I'm more and more getting convinced that that's probably too much for the Chiefs. They can't pay everybody. And if one guy can bring you that draft pick haul, that Tyreek haul, now can McDuffie bring you the Tyreek haul? Probably not quite that good, because that was a really good haul. But if you can get back a bunch of picks for a guy like Trent McDuffie, that can be valuable too, especially if they are spent well. And obviously the Chiefs and the Tyreek, they won the Tyreek trade. The value that they got back in that trade was immense. And that's a big reason why they're where they are right now. And honestly, timelines, that's what we're talking about here. Is we're talking about now you're getting to the next stage where it's like, are you going to pay the guy that you got in the trade for Tyreek, or are you going to trade it and try and do the exact same thing again? Get 3 or 4 picks that you can then, build another young nucleus. I mean, a year ago, I probably would have said there's just no way that the Chiefs cannot sign Trent McDuffie. Now I'm accepting the possibility that there's a way that you maybe don't sign Trent McDuffie. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it, but there's a rationale where it is the right business decision. And I do hate that, but it is possible. Nikki, I'm trying to remember that situation. If I remember correctly, I think you're referring to after there was I think it was after the challenge, after the Washington challenge, that they came back and set back the clock. I think they added like 30 seconds to the game clock and reset the play clock. I think it was after the challenge, because in that situation, because of the ruling on the field, had they ruled it that way on the field, the clock would have stopped then. So I think that's why, if I remember the circumstances, I know when they added the clock, that time to the clock. I mean, that was my recollection. That it was a situation where had they made that ruling on the field correctly, that the time would not have run off the clock. So that's why they put it back on. That's my recollection. I may have to go back and look at it again, Nikki, but I think that's why it was. And Tyler, Nick said on 41 is the mic on Sunday, that if I start getting the show under 1 hour, he'll come back. So at some point, maybe next week's the bye week. We'll see what happens. Maybe I can get lightning round. I will try to do it under 1 hour and get Nick back. So let's see. Oh, it's going to be a trade deadline, So if the Chiefs make a trade that day, that's probably really going to hose that. But what we could do is, if I do a second Q&A like on Thursday night, and that one's less than an hour, then I can pretty much require Nick to come back. So that I might need to just do some finagling to get Nick back. If I can do a lightning round Q&A under an hour, Nick will be back. So at this point, it is entirely my fault. Chiefs on pace. Do you think Kelsey has found one last breath? He seems like he's playing good. I mean, the Chiefs will tell you, Travis will tell you that it goes back to his offseason program, that goes back to losing weight, getting a little bit better shape, building a little bit more stamina. All that. I mean, and he is playing well. I mean, and what is kind of surprising me a little bit is that he's doing it despite the fact that there's not a lot of snap management still going on. I want to pull it up and see where he is percentage wise and what his projection is, because maybe I'll be a little bit surprised there. I mean, he's down to 74% of the offensive snaps, which I still would like to see him under 70. Now, he was at 84% of the offensive snaps last year. He played 940 snaps. So let me this comes out to pretty good numbers. I mean, I can actually do that in my head. I mean, he'd come out to about 850 snaps this year based on his rate right now through 8 games. I'd still like that lower. I mean, but that's an improvement. But I'd like him under 800. I mean, I'd like for him. I mean, the rest of the season for 9 more games, if you could cut off like 6 to 8 more snaps per game from Travis Kelce, so, he's playing 50 snaps right now. If you could get him down to 42 to 44 snaps a game, that's where I think the sweet spot would be. That would be a great number for Travis. And I said all along, I mean, I thought that Travis, if he played fewer snaps this year than he played last year, that he could be a more productive player and have better numbers. Right now, he's doing that. He is on pace to play fewer snaps this year than he did last year. About 100, what did I say, 700? No, he's got, I said 850. He's on pace for probably about 90 fewer snaps than he did last year. And he's putting up better numbers. I mean, that resonates with me because last year he played too much. He was on the field too much. And I get it. He wanted to be out there because they had the injuries and he needed to be out there for his guy, Patrick, but it's just too much. So I feel vindicated that he's playing fewer snaps this year and yet putting up better numbers. So I feel vindicated. I don't feel responsible because I'm not the one that did it. But I mean, you still see every once in a while. I mean, like last night, Travis, that run down the right sideline on that 38-yard reception with the run after the catch. I mean, Travis 3 years ago, I think houses that. I think he takes it all the way back. You could saw it last night. I mean, he was kind of running out of air a little bit. So, he's still 36 years old. So I get that, but he is playing very well right now. You're going to live with maybe the fatigue mistake. I still feel like that the drops are sometimes fatigue mistakes. You're going to live with that if he's going to put up the numbers and have the catches and the touchdown that he did last night. I mean, that is good stuff. I mean, you got to have that. Let's see where to. All give me a hard time on my lightning round. You know what? I started off once again, as I do every week. I start off with the best of intentions about trying to give concise answers, and then I take the scenic route on one answer, and then I just kind of fall apart. So I do appreciate that there's a handful of you that do appreciate my wanderings, my in-depth, if not unclear answers. Apparently my occasionally off-color language. JK, Kelce was flipped on his back right before the play where he dropped the catch. Do you think that played a role? He clearly settled in after that. It could have been. I mean, absolutely could have. I mean, getting banged up, fatigue, any of these things. I mean, I think those are when you do see Travis make some mental miscues. And I mean, he's not going to blame it on that. And I get that. I mean, he's going to tell you if he's out there on a snap, he's ready to play. And that's not the issue. And I appreciate that. I get that. But, and I appreciate the fact that he doesn't want to blame that as, being fatigued, being tired, being banged up as an excuse. I think it is a reality though. So I have no reason to Brian to believe why Big Bob would be demanding a trade, because right now Big Bob's on his way to possibly getting a ring. So, you stay with that ship as long as you possibly can. Alicia Marie. I was only able to watch the game in spurts last night. At one point, I saw Caliendo, Wanye Morris, and Norzad playing. What were they all doing out there? Aren't Trey and Josh the only ones out? What you saw there, Alicia, was the full house jumbo package, because that was the snap that the Chiefs went with 7 offensive linemen. Norzad came in, and I'm trying to remember, I think he was on the left side, so he was technically playing tight ends. He reported as an eligible receiver, so he was a tight end. I think he was on the outside of Jalen Moore. Wanye came in. Caliendo was already in there, so he was already in there at right guard. If I'm not mistaken, I believe then Wanye came in at right tackle. I know that Jawan was eligible, so then Jawan was on the outside. He was also basically, it was essentially a 2 tight end set where your 2 tight ends were Hunter Norzad and Jawan Taylor, and I love that kind of thing. I mean, I mean, at some point the Chiefs are doing these things, and at some point Jawan Taylor or Hunter Norzad's catching a touchdown, and I'm there for that. I'm always there for big guy touchdowns. So that's what they did. And now I had to be refreshed on this a couple of weeks ago when the Chiefs did a similar thing with Jawan and did the same thing. Jawan was the eligible receiver, and Wanye came in at tackle in his place. Next snap, Jawan is out, and Wanye remained in at right tackle. What I forgot and got the refresher on there is that you cannot go from an eligible position to an ineligible position. So when they moved Jawan to essentially tight end and left him in that and he was declared an eligible receiver, then he had to come out of the game before he could come back in at right tackle. So Wanye played an extra snap. The same thing happened last night. Jawan comes out of the game after that play. Was the 4th down play for Kareem. Kareem runs behind the 7-man offensive line. I mean, it wasn't necessarily any extra blockers. It's just that you have now created a much wider space in which you can run the ball. And now, the defense doesn't know which gap you're going to go through. You've essentially created more gaps on the ends of the lines where your run game can go through for the short yardage play. The Chiefs have done this now a couple of times this year. I am certain at some point that they're going to run the same look again. And like I said, I mean, the fact that Jawan Taylor's been out there for every single one of these plays would say that Jawan is probably the guy that's going to get the touchdown. But I mean, I would then be the guy on the other side of it that's like, hey, we've been showing him the Jawan all season long, making him think Jawan's getting the ball. So let's throw it to the other guy, because I think it was Caliendo the last time. It was Norzad this time. So, I mean, hey, the Chiefs, as Herbie Teope over at KCSN a couple of weeks ago did my one. I mean, we talked about the story before. It's a good one, but the Chiefs, on Fridays always do a pat and go drill where the offensive linemen are catching passes. It's why you do it, so you can throw your offensive lineman passes later on. And Chiefs are great at it. I mean, you got catch and release. Big Fish, who's not Big Fish anymore. If you saw him at the game last night, he is Slender Fish. He's a skinny guy these days. Go for KC. Why do you think the Chiefs need a defensive tackle? Look up. The Chiefs gave up rushing the last 3 games. Legit. I mean, the Chiefs defensively, they're on a roll. You want to be better? You need some defensive tackle depth, especially since you've got 3 defensive tackles on the active roster right now: Chris Jones, Derrick Nottie, Jerry Tillery. You're elevating somebody from the practice squad going forward and for the foreseeable future. You've used 2 of your elevations for Marlon Tuipulotu. You've used 1 for Broderick Martin. You've got some more. Obviously, you can use amongst those guys. Zach Pickens is around too. We'll see if obviously they add Mike Pennel, like we're talking about. They need depth, because you get one more injury at defensive tackle and now you've seriously challenged your depth. So it's not as much about what they've done the last 3 games. It's more about what are you going to do over the next 11 to 12 games. and you get any more injuries. And the trade deadline's Tuesday, so you can't fix the problem after Tuesday without just free agents and practice squad guys. So this is your chance. I mean, if you do feel like that you need to make a more significant upgrade, next Tuesday is your last opportunity to do it. Mitchell with Pacheco's injury, is it Elijah Mitchell time or just a bunch more Smith? I mean, if Pacheco it can't go this week, and there's reasonable chance. I mean, they're saying he's week to week. Elijah Mitchell would almost certainly be active this week for the first time, but I do think you see a lot more Brashard Smith. You would probably see a little bit of Elijah Mitchell, but this would be the time to run more Brashard Smith. And honestly, I feel like this might have been a plan all along. I mean, I do think that the Chiefs have a lot more in store for Brashard Smith than they have shown to this point. They showed a lot in training camp that has not been revealed yet. You've seen some flashes of it, but there's a lot more to the packages that Brashard Smith can do and what he's got, the skill set that he's got. They have just barely tapped into it. I do think that there's a lot more to do from Brashard Smith. And if you want to talk about whipping it out in a game like Buffalo, I would be all for it. It would be absolutely perfect timing. Infopocalypse, running back Tyler Algier is an underrated trade candidate, probably because people thought Atlanta could make the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a factor. I mean, number one factor in determining whether or not a player is going to be available is, hey, does the team still think that they are in playoff contention? And look at the standings real quick. I mean, I know Atlanta's hovering around 500. They lost yesterday, right? Yeah. I mean, they're not out of things. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, does Atlanta feel like that they are out of it now? They've got injuries. That's the problem. So if they think that they're out of it because of the quarterback situation and the injuries that they've got, and they just don't have it in the tank, then maybe you do think about making a deal. And I mean, Algier's back up, so it would be a good opportunity to be a guy that you could move on and get some draft picks, get some help. I think he'd be a great fit. It'd be a great opportunity. I mean, I think that would be a nice fit. It's just, as Atlanta, hey, look at their schedule. What did they got this week? They got the Patriots this week. I mean, if they don't move him by this weekend and suddenly you're 3-5, are you now a little bit more convinced that you're out of the playoffs and you're willing to move some guys? Of course, now I see that Algier's also been on the injury report. He's got a hip issue right now. So if you're trading for him, you want to make sure that he's not a problem. I know he's played through it, so that doesn't look like it's a huge issue. But those are all the questions that you got to answer. But I mean, it's 3-5, have them out. And if they beat the Patriots and they're back to 4-4, all right, I imagine Atlanta does not think that they're out of the playoff contention. So. No, Detroit is a good team. I was just my not admission in that discussion, and I was just saying that Detroit was banged up on one side of the ball. They had a lot of injuries on the defensive side, so therefore some people are downgrading that win. I'm more impressed that the Chiefs shut down the Detroit offense because, once again, I mean, there was nothing wrong with the Baltimore offense or the Detroit offense when the Chiefs defense played them. And the Chiefs defense dismantled both of them. So I give credit to that. I was just kind of acknowledging as that kind of, backdoor, at least the two toughest games that the Chiefs played were those first two games against the Chargers and the Eagles, just acknowledging that Detroit's defense was banged up. But I do think that's a good team. And the fact that the Chiefs, took a team that was a good team that just had some injuries and beat the snot out of them. I mean, I think I'm not bothered by that. I do think that was a big win. So no, I think they're a good team. I was thinking is that I think there's the feeling out there that the Chiefs caught them at the right time. So your mileage may vary. Last time I'll say it tonight. Martine, what does it mean when a quarterback sets the protection? What does Patrick do to set it? What you're doing in that situation is that you're identifying for the offensive line. You're like, you're looking for the blitzers. You're looking for, you're setting the Mike linebacker. So you're going to be, pointing out, okay, who's the Mike on this play? Where's the middle of the defense? Where are they centered? Where are they bringing everything from? Where's everything stemming from? And then what you're doing is you're then trying to make sure that everybody knows their responsibility. And I mean, you've got codes for that. You got language, so you're not just literally out there saying, "Hey, Jalen, you got this guy over there." It's the quarterback's job to look out and see the entire defense, see what looks that they're in, and then just make sure that everybody in the offensive line knows what their responsibility is. So that's the short version of what setting the protection is. That he's scanning the defense, and when you see somebody go in motion, that's typically, some coaches will tell you that they always put guys in motion for a reason, and sometimes the reason is just to gain an advantage with putting a guy in motion. But a lot of times pre-snap motion, teams are doing that to find out to see what tells that the defense is going to give. If they're showing, if a guy follows with the guy in motion, then it tells you that they're most likely in man defense. You might see some flinches. So now when a guy goes in motion, so now you kind of know which way maybe the defenders are floating to. And that's why, one of the things you'll hear, and you've heard this from sometimes, and sometimes some quarterbacks are more vocal about it and there's more active about it. But one thing you'll often hear is, quarterback and their before they get into their cadence and everything, go, we're good. Either that means that they don't need to make any adjustments, or he's told everybody. But usually, when the quarterback comes up and says we're good. That's his setting. That's him telling the offensive line, hey, you guys, no changes. You know exactly what you need to do. There you go, Brian. If you're watching right now and you haven't hit the like button, why not? Because if you, I assume that if you're here and you've been watching, at some point for like the last 2 hours and 16 minutes and you haven't hit the like button, I hope that you haven't just like fallen and need help. That would be my guess, because otherwise, why wouldn't you hit the like button? That's all I'm saying. Pano, do you see the Chiefs making a move at the trade deadline? I think they're going to try. Maybe they'll surprise us and go off the map. But I do think they're going to try. I do think they're going to look for defensive line help. I do think they're going to look for running back help. Just to upgrade, probably maybe the better word there. Just to get a little bit more explosive at that spot. But I think they're going to give it a go. We got 7 more days to try and make it done. 3 p.m. next Tuesday is the last day to get anything done. I was saying you're saying second, third, and fourth, and I was trying to think about who you were. I didn't know we were talking about anybody specifically that you were looking for. You probably said that when I was talking about somebody specifically and going to get, and I just can't remember who it was now. So was I badgering the witness, Brian? No pressure today. The Chiefs were dark on Tuesday, so Wednesday starts a normal week. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Andy Reid on Wednesday and Friday. The coordinators on Thursday. Patrick Mahomes on Wednesday. We should have Chris Jones on Thursday, and Travis never. I didn't say that. No, Travis will. Hopefully he'll be in the locker room on Friday and have a few moments for us, but you never know. There you go. More free Big Bob and free Rashard Smith. Those are my only 2 notes for the Chiefs offense. They're doing fine. They don't need my notes, but those would be my 2 notes. Jesus, that if we could come up with a convincing and compelling reason that Nick needs to be here for winning lotto numbers, that would be the way to go. So I like the way you think there, Jesus. That is probably the way to go. Oh yeah, Joe. I mean, no, there's a long list of retired Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks that made the move to broadcast. So that's like that's the stepping stone. You're absolutely right. Let's see. We're getting close to the end. I mean, we're now to 9:10, so this will be your last moment. Oh, Bobby, I appreciate that, my friend. Supporting good independent journalism. Well, I know it's independent. I don't know if it's good, but I truly appreciate the support, Bobby. It's always good to see you, my friend. Let's see. Well, I know, like I said, I know we're getting close to the end here. So last call if anybody's got any questions, because Samuel here is from 917. So we are near the end. Is Mike Pennel back? I think I saw a couple of radio show hosts on Twitter say he's back. Yes, I did see the reports out there. Hey, that's a source that I do trust, so I have no reason to doubt it. I haven't received confirmation yet on that. No reason to believe that it's not true. It makes a total amount of sense. So we will see if Mike Pennel is back indeed. Drew, what kind of defense will Buffalo use against Kansas City on Sunday? Once again, I mean, that's why I wish Nick were here. He would be able to answer that question for you better, because he's at this point has watched a lot more Buffalo film than I have. I know he's picked up on some things, and you will want to tune in to Nick later this week, because he told us on the podcast on 41 is the mic that he thinks he's picked up on something that Josh Allen does that I think you'll want to watch for on Sunday. Infopocalypse, just want to point out more people are still watching now than when you joined an hour and 15 minutes ago. Kudos to you, Iron Man. Thank you, Infopocalypse. I'm able to do it thanks to Milo's iced tea, which this is all I've drinking so far. So I try to pace myself so I don't have to use the restroom during a 2 hour and 21 minute live stream. That's for the best. But there you go. I mean, Milo's iced tea, you are powering this. This is not sport coffee or any other beverage, but it is Milo's iced tea, which is not a sponsor, but should be, because I am mentioning them and I spend way too much money on Milo's iced tea. Thanks, Infopocalypse. I appreciate the chat there and the contribution. I know there's another word for that. I got to remember what it is. YouTube's got their phrases, and I got to remember what that one is, because too many of you have been doing it tonight. We're not just getting super chats. I guess they're all super chats, but not just questions. It's very kind of you. Jeremy, Chiefs have been feeling it. Do you think we will see a random player get a touchdown catch like Allegretti did in the Pats' first year? I mean, we were talking about that a few minutes ago, that with the Chiefs jumbo sets that they've been doing, we've been seeing Juwan Taylor lined up as an eligible receiver a couple of times now. So I'm convinced it's coming. I mean, the Chiefs have gone to that 7-man offensive line a couple of times now and run the ball both times. So I'm expecting at some point you are going to see a wrinkle. Could you see Rashee Rice behind a 7-man offensive line and then passing it to Patrick, out at wide receiver? I mean, something could be legit there. So I could definitely see it happening. And like I said, I am all about big guy touchdowns. So that's why I was so happy for Mike Dana and that interception. And the look on Mike Dana's face is one of those things that's just great about this job and being able to cover players, because Mike's a good dude. I mean, he always has a smile on his face. He's a quiet guy, though. He's not real demonstrative, but he's always, very cheerful, always nice in the locker room, very polite. I mean, he's not, like I said, not a big, talk or anything like that, but just a true pro, all these things. And, seeing him just light up talking about that interception last night, that was the highlight for me. And I wish I had more of that video from last night. You can see a little bit of his interview on the Chiefs Digest channel. Go check it out. He talks a little bit about the game, but I wish I'd caught more of him talking about the interception. I did talk to him without the cameras rolling, and at one point, and so it was it was nice. I mean, when you get to see, when players like that big guys, defensive linemen don't make interceptions. So when you finally get one, and he talked about the fact that he had one in New England a couple of years ago that he couldn't get, but that one he got, and I can only imagine how big his eyes were watching that ball in the air and just thinking he's going to be able to grab it and everything. Yeah, I mean, Samuel, yes, Jason Anderson has had quite a few inside scoops over the years, so I do trust Jason. I've never known Jason to get a story wrong, so I do trust him. So if he's reporting it, which I know he is, I have no reason to doubt it. That he has given me good insight in the past. He, like I said, never led me wrong. He has been right with everything that he's reported in the past. So I have no reason to doubt it. Just he's got a source that I don't have. So good for him. Mitchell, I think this might be the last question, unless we have one more last call. But how concerned are you about Allen running all over the Chiefs? Running quarterbacks have been making them look lost this season. And last night was a good example where I think that, Mitchell, that obviously they responded pretty quickly after Washington kind of showed that they were going to run Mariota a few times, and they were willing to run him onto some designed runs, and they went to Leo as the spy and shut it down. That's the one thing that the Chiefs have always been either slow or nonchalant about, has been spying Josh Allen early. And I would be up for doing that much quicker than they have in the past. I mean, usually it's always been very responsive. Sometimes it's been slack. And, last year, I mean, Spags kind of admitted during the regular season that they probably should have spied him earlier. I think they probably should. Now, or is Buffalo preparing for that? Probably. I mean, if they're seeing a spy out there, I mean, Buffalo's probably got a game plan to try and counter that. But at the same time, I mean, that is an effective part of the Buffalo game. And it has been a very, very effective part of the Buffalo game against the Chiefs over the years. Because those scrambles, his third down conversions, the touchdown last year, those are just back-breaking plays. And sometimes, I mean, that's as a result, I mean, those are bigger plays than they're even just the impact on a normal impact on the game. I mean, a third down conversion's bad, but when you're giving up like a 17-yard run by the quarterback for a third down conversion, that's not just bad, that is demoralizing. I mean, that can just absolutely break a defense. So I would be more concerned about trying to stop Josh Allen on the ground. I would be willing to dare him, especially because he's got a few fewer targets this year. He doesn't have the weapons that he has in the passing game as he has in the past. I would try to shut that down a little bit more. I do think that, James Cook is a nightmare too, and the Chiefs have been very effective at shutting down the run game. So you bank on that. You bank on your run game plan, getting things done. But the two, honestly, I mean, as effective as James Cook was yesterday for Buffalo, or Sunday for Buffalo, the two things that would worry me the most in this game for the Chiefs defense would be Josh Allen running and James Cook catching the ball out of the backfield, because the Chiefs have been susceptible to that. They were a little bit susceptible against Washington. I mean, they gave up I think it was 54 yards to a backup running back out of the backfield. They got burned a couple of times and now, hey, some of that was maybe just getting a little lucky. I mean, as far as just running back sneaking out of the backfield, plays extended, Mariota makes the play, but Josh Allen can do the same thing. So you can't let, and James Cook has had some big catches against the Chiefs in the past. So that's what I would be worried about. I mean, I would be worried about Buffalo trying to isolate, James Cook against a linebacker in coverage. If they can do that, I think obviously that's why. I mean, Chiefs are going to have to make some decisions. I mean, if you're going to go with Leo Chenal as a spy, then you're probably going to have 3 linebackers on the field. And that might mean taking off a defensive lineman so you can have an extra safety to defend, because I think Jaden Hicks in a game like this would be very valuable to shadow James Cook a little bit. I mean, I think you want a safety, and Cook is the guy that can keep up with him. Excuse me, Hicks. I mean, Cook had too. I mean, I'd be okay with both those guys, honestly. I mean, they're both hard hitters. They're both big enough that I think that they could take on Cook. I mean, those are the 2 guys that you do not want to corner on James Cook, because he will obliterate them. So there's a lot of decisions as a defensive coordinator that you got to make against Josh Allen and his team. And so I'm saying here what I would decide. That doesn't mean it's going to work. Spags may do some of these things, may not. He may be right. I may be wrong. I mean, most of the time he's going to be the one that's right. But Buffalo and Josh Allen and that offense does force you to make a lot of decisions. I think there's fewer decisions to make this year because they don't have the receiver depth that they've had in the past. But this is still a potent offense. So I would be more focused than the Chiefs have been in the past on trying to make sure that Josh does not beat you with his legs. So, Daniel, should the Chiefs trade for Jermaine Johnson or Jalen Phillips, or Pacheco hurt? Should the Chiefs trade for A-Chain or Hall? What say you? I mean, honestly, even without Pacheco's injury, I think Devon A-Chain or Breece Hall, both of them would improve this offense. I think both of them would be nice pieces. I'm assuming A-Chain would be the cheaper solution. Hall, I just think it's going to be too costly. I could be wrong, but if for the Jets, it might be if you just decide that you're going to trade Breece Hall, you may just trade him for whatever you get. I mean, if your feeling is that you're not going to sign him long term, then you might as well try and get something for him. Again, though, if you think that Breece Hall is going to sign a decent sized contract in the offseason, you probably want at least a third, because you're going to get, maybe a third or a fourth round comp pick for him. So yeah, you're not giving away for a fifth. I mean, if that's the case, you might as well just keep Breece Hall, win as many games as you can this year, and take the comp pick that you're going to get in, next year's draft. So, I mean, there's going to have to be a little bit of price to pay. I would probably, of Johnson or Phillips, I would probably lean towards Phillips, but I mean, I think there's 10 dozen, defensive linemen out there in the league, around the league, probably more than that, but there's 10 or 12 that I've got an eye on that I've been looking at that I think that the Chiefs might be interested in and would be good fits for this team. So I would put me down for A-Chain and put me down for Phillips if those are our 2 choices, Daniel. So like your research and your question there. Did you say you're doing a project about Travis Kelce? Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it tonight, Jesus, and we'll see. Maybe I shouldn't give it away, but I've been trying this year when Travis is available, and I've told him about this. What I've been asking him is just how do you play tight end for Andy Reid? What skill set do you have to have? What abilities, what knowledge do you have to have? What's the most important things to know and to learn? What's Andy like playing for? A little bit about what he's learned from Tom Melvin, things that he's learned from the veterans along the way. I mean, my pitch to Travis, what I told him about this, and that I wanted to ask him questions. I wanted to ask him just, I want to write the guide on how to, be a tight end for Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Because he's the expert. He should know more about this than just about anybody. So I'd like to kind of at least have a little bit of written history or an oral history, however this ends up being, just about, Travis and what he thinks is important in this offense and all the things that he can do. So we'll see if it comes together. I may be a terrible interviewer and a terrible writer, and therefore it just completely falls apart, Jesus. You never know. But I'm excited about it. I hope it comes together. So far, We've had like 3 conversations on Fridays doing this so far. Travis has been really helpful. I truly appreciate that. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of time, but he's been giving me some time, so I truly appreciate that. And hopefully we've got some more time the rest of the way to talk about it. And hey, if the Chiefs keep on going, maybe we can keep on talking through the Super Bowl. So is Dalton Kincaid back? I mean, we haven't seen the injury report for this week, but I was looking to see it. I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure if I looked at the box score whether or not he played. I know he was questionable going into the Panthers game. How much did he, if he played at all? He did play. Only played 14 snaps, though. That was pretty limited. So working his way back, I guess you would say, a little bit there. So, I mean, and, you know, I don't know what the case is going to be with Keon Coleman. I mean, Khalil Shakir has hurt the Chiefs in the past, but, you know, Shakir, I think has been his most effective against the Chiefs when he's been the number 2 or the number 3 option. If he's the number 1 option, number 2 option, I think that's a little bit bigger role. And it's you know, and I just don't think that Buffalo, I mean, even though I think those are 2 good receivers, I just don't feel like it's the depth that the Bills have had in the past. So everybody, truly appreciate you coming in tonight. Yes, I ramble way too long to get to 2:35. I tried to have ChatGPT help me last week setting up some chapters, but apparently it turns out that I'm going to have to do it manually because ChatGPT did not follow any of my instructions. Apparently 2 hours and then 2.5 hours, 3 hours is too long for ChatGPT to figure out how to make YouTube chapters. So I'm gonna have to go back to doing it myself, but I would like to do that so that anybody who comes in and doesn't want to listen to the full 2.5, 3 hours of the live stream will enjoy it. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you had a good time this evening. Brian, I'm not allowed to mention spiders to Nick, so it's one of the banned phrases. I think there's like 5 or 6 things like that I'm not allowed to mention, and with good reason, just because, you know, I tend to run jokes into the ground. So some things that I'm just banned from saying, and if I say them, that would be another reason for Nick not to come back to the live stream. But we're gonna do it one night. We're gonna do the under 1 hour, which obligates Nick to come back because I want him back, and I know all of you do too. But Nick is. He is enjoying his free time on Tuesdays. So I can't blame him because it's his day off. Everybody have a great week. We will be back with you. If the Chiefs, if they make a trade during the week, we will, at least I'll be able to pop in with an emergency live stream, answer some of your questions about it, talk about it. We'll have some videos coming up this week from the Chiefs, so we'll get that to you as well. And any highlights that we need, if there's anybody new shows up at practice, we'll get you the video of that too, so you get a first look at anybody that pops up between now and the trade deadline. Otherwise, we're going to see you, it'll be earlier in your stream on Sunday. We will be recording after Nick and I both get done with everything post game. So I'm guessing that we'll probably end up recording between 10 and 11. So hopefully the podcast will be out maybe around midnight or 1. Not as a late or as early as like a Monday Night Football game, but 41 is the mic. You will see it on your live stream after the game on Sunday. Don't know if I'm legendary, but love it, Captain Freedom. And I know you run into Nick at Hy-Vee all the time. I don't think I've run into you, or at least I don't remember you mentioning it. So maybe that's going to happen one day. Everybody, thank you so much. Nikki, I'm absolutely going to let Nick know that you all miss him very much. And again, sorry I missed you the other night, Nikki, at the game. Appreciate the invite. Wish I could have made it and caught up with you. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next week, unless the Chiefs make some trade news. Take care, everybody. And